Our lonely boy spends his 25th birthday alone in a dark room, cutting a cheap cake. Unfortunately, the sad little dessert tastes absolutely terrible, instantly ruining his pity party. So he dumps the trashy treat, wishing he had spent that money on gacha pulls instead, especially after seeing his crush post a picture with a much better cake from someone else. Bullets from a sudden fever, he desperately wishes someone would actually care about him, hoping for just a single kind message while his body completely gives out on him. Before he can even pass out from the dizziness, reality suddenly starts to warp, dragging his consciousness into a snowy wasteland where someone is running for their life. Right on their heels is a massive, terrifying monster with a mouthful of razor-sharp teeth, leaving a mysterious, unconscious girl caught right in the middle of this freezing nightmare. Red lightning tears through the sky as the massive beast lunges directly at our terrified protagonist. But before the monster can bite, a swirling red vortex suddenly swallows it whole, leaving nothing behind but a severed claw as the dimensional rift violently snaps shut, and our boy can only stare in shock, wondering if he actually just transmigrated. His existential crisis is cut short by a very distracting, up-close view of a mysterious woman who towers over him in high heels while calling out his name in cold fury, revealing herself as a fierce, dark-haired beauty who is absolutely not happy to see him, immediately winding up a massive punch to punish him for wandering into dangerous interdimensional territory, sending him flying across the frozen wasteland with a brutal strike that nearly resets his life. Now poor Zhangxiao clutches his throbbing head, wondering how his new life got so painful. Zhangxiao realizes he actually transmigrated, just like the cliché web novels he used to read, finding himself on the Star Marshall continent where massive interdimensional gates warp the snowy landscape, which act as unstable portals tearing through reality to unleash absolute chaos upon the world, letting loose a horde of terrifying mythical beasts that threaten humanity's very survival. Though this crisis also brought a cosmic energy called Star Force to awaken human defenders, whose ultimate potential is strictly decided by the number of star slots in their cosmic charts. Unfortunately, his new body belongs to Zhang Xiaopi, a certified loser with only 9 slots, and before he can process this terrible hand, a cold voice snaps him back to reality, belonging to his half-sister Han Zhangshui, a 30-slot prodigy who apparently loves beating him up, leaving our bruised hero shivering in the snow while she drags him away from danger. A voice suddenly echoes across the frozen wasteland, calling out to the siblings through the snow, revealing an energetic girl in a yellow jumpsuit who rushes over with a massive sword. Turns out she is Xiaoyan, Han Zhangshue's best friend, boasting an impressive 28-star slots. And she immediately turns her attention to Jiang Xiao, teasingly calling him Little Pai Pi. Before he can complain, she lectures him about the extreme dangers of wandering into dimensional rifts, reminding him how worried his sister actually was despite her violent and icy exterior. Zhang Xiao, as his predecessor, was dragged out here to train after becoming lazy and arrogant, only to panic and run away from a monster hunt like a total coward, leaving him to wonder if his sister actually managed to kill both of the beasts, because a second massive monster suddenly drops from the sky to ambush the unsuspecting trio. Zhang Xiao lets out a terrified shriek as the massive beast lunges from the sky, but Han Zhangshui reacts instantly, diving forward to shove her useless brother out of danger, sending them both tumbling into the snow while the monster's claws barely miss their mark, leaving our blushing hero with a very close, highly distracting view of his savior. Shaking off the awkward moment, the icy prodigy unleashes a powerful blast of desolate wind, whipping up a freezing gale that slams directly into the airborne beast to halt its momentum, before she immediately barks out an order to her energetic, sword-wielding best friend, who responds with a confident smirk, completely ready to turn this monster into barbecue. Igniting her massive blade with scorching flame, Xiaoyan leaps high into the air, bringing down a devastating fiery slash to finish off the beast once and for all. Xiaoyan unleashes her blazing strike, slamming her fiery sword directly into the beast's face, but the massive creature barely flinches, its glowing yellow eyes locking onto its energetic attacker, sending a massive shockwave of heat and snow exploding across the frozen battlefield, as Xiaoyan slides gracefully across the ice to regain her footing after the heavy impact, flashing a confident smirk while realizing this beast actually has some impressively thick skin. Unfortunately for the wild snow Keelan, its high-level defense won't save it today, because she immediately winds up for another devastating swing with her glowing red blade, slicing clean through the monster in a single bloody flash of absolute dominance, leaving the beast completely neutralized while Zhang Xiao watches the entire display in absolute awe. Our blushing hero can only stare, realizing just how terrifyingly powerful these elite awakeners truly are. Xiaoyan lets out a sigh of relief, wiping the sweat from her brow after that intense clash, turning around to brag about how their flawless teamwork just absolutely demolished the beast, only to freeze in shock when she spots Han Zhangshui, holding her useless brother incredibly close, immediately throwing a hilarious tantrum and demanding they end their cozy little sibling bonding moment. Shaking off the drama, Han Zhangshui warns that the fresh blood will soon attract more dangerous predators, prompting Zhang Xiao to recall that these beasts carry valuable star beads containing their unique powers. Realizing this is exactly how his sister and her fiery friend obtain their insane elemental skills. But his internal monologue is cut short when Xiaoyan calls him a little academic failure, deciding to give him a practical lesson on harvesting beads so he stops failing his exams, holding up a glowing blue sphere while explaining that these power sources always hide in one spot. Zhang Xiao guesses the correct spot with a sweat drop, earning a rare compliment from his fiery mentor. She pulls out a sleek dagger, explaining that harvesting these beads requires some serious bone-cutting tools, instructing him to find the perfect angle before making a decisive high-pressure strike. Before she violently drives the blade down to crack the beast's skull wide open, plunging her hand directly into the bloody mess to search for the hidden prize, muttering anatomical terms like a mad scientist while rummaging through the monster's cold brain cavity. Unfortunately, she pulls her hand back empty-handed, sighing over their terrible luck with this empty beast. Handing over the bloody dagger, she orders Zhang Xiao to practice on the other corpse, leaving our 25-year-old former shut-in panicking over his sudden promotion to amateur brain surgeon. But he steel plates his resolve, knowing he must adapt quickly to survive this brutal new world. Zhang Xiao drives the bloody dagger down, completing his first gruesome lesson in monster anatomy. Unfortunately, Xiaoyan sighs in disappointment, realizing neither of the defeated beasts dropped a single bead. She explains that these power sources are incredibly rare, requiring insane luck to actually obtain, leaving our exhausted hero to nod in agreement while silently processing this brutal reality check. Meanwhile, Han Zhongshui stares at him with deep concern, wondering if her brother is actually okay. Speculating that her brutal slap might have actually knocked some mature common sense into him. Shaking off her thoughts, she calls out to him as he stands shivering in the snow, presenting a glowing purple orb she saved from their previous hunt, urging him to absorb it. Our boy stares in absolute awe at the legendary white ghost shaman star bead in his hands, realizing his limited 9 slots mean he must choose his precious lifetime techniques very carefully. As Zhang Xiao absorbs the glowing orb, a surge of cosmic energy crackles violently around him, pulling his consciousness directly into a swirling neon blue void of pure spiritual energy, where a glowing holographic interface suddenly boots up to display his stats, leaving our shocked hero to wonder if he actually possesses multiple star charts, before the mysterious system begins scanning the newly absorbed white ghost shaman bead, revealing that this rare prize grants him both a healing blessing and a decoy skill, which he can miraculously into a single slot to bypass his limited potential. But as his mind snaps back to reality, his sister demands to know the results. Our hero's explanation is instantly cut short when Xiaoyan interrupts with pure panic, warning them that an uninvited hunting squad is rapidly closing in on their position. A rival squad of hunters inspects the freshly harvested corpses, realizing another team beat them to it. Their scout quickly connects the dots, wondering if the same group wiped out a nearby beast clan. Nearby, a blonde hunter laments their terrible luck, dreading how they will explain their empty hands to their family. An arrogant captain merely sneers, ordering his squad to keep searching for rare beast cubs in the snow. He even suggests robbing the other team of their star beads if they cross paths. Unaware that their targets are hiding nearby, the rival squad moves deeper into the wasteland, leaving behind a trail of footprints in the snow as they continue their search. With the coast finally clear, our trio lets out a collective sigh of relief behind their cover. Zhang Xiao is completely baffled, wondering why these hunters are so desperate to steal beast cubs, prompting Xiaoyan to explain that white ghost shamans are incredibly rare compared to normal beasts. She explains that a white ghost clan only ever spawns a single, highly coveted shaman, whose rare star beads grant legendary healing abilities that are practically priceless in this world, leaving Zhang Xiao completely jaw-dropped when he hears the insane price tag of his new power. But his sister quickly cuts in with a grim warning about the dark side of humanity, revealing that human awakeners also carry highly valuable star beads packed with pure cosmic energy, which instantly triggers a terrifying realization in our hero's mind about the threat of murder, making him realize he transmigrated into a brutal hellscape where everyone is a potential target. A gentle pat on the head from his sister snaps him out of his spiral, as she notes their energy is running low and they must reach safety before nightfall, prompting the weary trio to finally begin their long trek back across the freezing wasteland. Han Zhongshui notices Zhang Xiao has been quiet and downcast since their earlier encounter, gently telling him not to put too much pressure on himself for failing to absorb a skill. But our boy just flashes a nervous smile, silently reeling from the sheer brutality of this world. Suddenly, a terrifying roar echoes through the snowy valley, halting their trek back to safety. A massive, glowing-eyed beast emerges from the blizzard, bearing its razor-sharp fangs at the trio, followed by a massive horde of white monsters charging down the mountain in a terrifying stampede. These snarling creatures lock their glowing eyes onto the intruders, ready to tear them apart, prompting Xiaoyan to draw her massive sword and prepare for an incredibly lopsided battle. She counts 16 of the beasts, completely baffled by where this massive pack came from. While Han Zhongshui warns that these solitary hunters gathering like this means a massive crisis is unfolding, Zhang Xiao panics, pointing out that these rare elite monsters shouldn't be traveling in massive packs. Xiaoyan sweat drops, confirming that a massive organized assault like this is completely unheard of. A terrifying wave of white beasts charges down the snowy slope with bloodthirsty intent. Their glowing eyes lock onto the trio, baring razor-sharp fangs in a savage roar, prompting Xia Yan to immediately ignite her massive blade with a burst of scorching flame, while Han Jiangshui unleashes a freezing gale of desolate wind to push the horde back. These girls coordinate their attacks perfectly, creating a chaotic explosion of fire and ice. But one massive beast slips through their defense, lunging directly at our defenseless hero. Its razor-sharp claws swipe downward, threatening to shred him to pieces in an instant, only for his sister's glowing purple eyes to lock onto the danger with absolute focus. Han Jiangshui throws herself in front of her brother, taking the brutal claw strike directly, leaving a massive bloody gash torn right across her back as blood splatters the snow, sending them both crashing hard into the freezing ground from the sheer force of the impact. Xia Yan completely loses her cool, screaming her best friend's name in absolute panic, while Han Jiangshua lies motionless in the snow, a terrifying trail of crimson pooling around her. Suddenly, Zhang Xiao remembers the legendary healing technique he literally just absorbed seconds ago, immediately unleashing his newly acquired blessing skill to wrap his sister in a warm, glowing light, prompting the unconscious mage to slowly open her eyes as the soothing energy washes over her. She feels her mind drift into a vast cosmic ocean of pure spiritual energy, realizing the horrific wound on her back is already closing up with a bizarrely itchy sensation. Han Jiangshue sighs as the healing energy washes over her, making her feel incredibly warm, but the sudden rush of intense heat leaves her blushing and completely out of breath, prompting a highly confused Jiang Xiao to wonder if his healing spell actually worked. Unfortunately, their brief moment of relief is cut short as another predator watches from afar, sending a fresh wave of bloodthirsty monsters charging straight toward the vulnerable duo, as Han Jiangshue suddenly stands up, fully recovered and ready to protect her brother, leaving our boy completely speechless as he witnesses her instant recovery in absolute disbelief. She wastes no time, immediately summoning her glowing star chart to unleash her true power, channeling a massive surge of crackling cosmic energy directly into her fingertips, before obliterating the incoming beast with a devastating blast of pure, swirling crimson destruction. Han Jiangshue raises her fist, channeling a massive surge of cosmic energy to finish the job, unleashing a devastating blast that completely vaporizes the incoming threat in a blinding flash of light, which suddenly triggers a glowing system notification, awarding Zhang Xiao a rare skill point for the kill, leaving our boy completely dumbfounded as he tries to process this unexpected gaming mechanic in real life. Meanwhile, Xiayan rushes over in a panic, crying tears of relief that her best friend survived. But Han Jiangshua immediately cuts her off, demanding they stay focused on the remaining enemies as she ignites her hand with a blazing spark, ready to unleash another devastating spell. She fires a massive blast of explosive flame, absolutely obliterating another beast right in its tracks. Despite their powerful counterattack, more white monsters keep rolling down the snowy slopes in endless waves, forcing a weary Han Jiangshue to target the shaman before their star power completely runs out. Behind the charging horde, the elusive white ghost shaman begins channeling a massive wave of spiritual energy, unleashing a powerful blessing spell that echoes across the battlefield with a terrifying roar, which instantly rejuvenates the fallen beasts and completely erases all the damage they just took, leaving a panicked Zhang Xiao to realize they will be slowly dragged down and utterly exhausted, prompting our boy to yell at his sister to launch him directly into the sky. And Han Jiangshue wastes no time, raising her hand to summon a massive updraft of wind, sending Zhang Xiao soaring high above the battlefield in a swirling vortex of pure gale force. Spinning through the freezing air, the kid desperately scans the snowy terrain to locate their hidden target, finally spotting the cowardly shaman hiding behind its beefy bodyguards down in the valley below. He immediately relays the coordinates to his sister, who orders a full-force breakthrough toward the southwest. Launching off the frozen ground with a massive leap, Zhang Xiao locks onto his target, while his sister charges forward to draw the attention of the surrounding beast horde, leaving our boy soaring through the freezing air to execute their high-stakes gamble. Down below, Xiayan leads the charge, sprinting headfirst into the snarling pack of monsters, channeling every ounce of her remaining star power to ignite her massive blade, before unleashing a devastating flame arc that slices cleanly through the snowy battlefield, but the fiery strike passes right through the target without leaving a single scratch, prompting a panicked Xiayan to realize they just wasted their ultimate on a decoy. At that exact moment, Zhang Xiao drops directly in front of the actual boss, only to find himself staring straight into the terrifying pitch-black eyes of the real shaman. This massive white beast lunge forward, ready to tear our defenseless hero to shreds, leaving the girls watching in absolute horror as they realize they cannot reach him in time. A brutal claw strike tears right through Jiang Xiao, prompting a desperate scream from his sister, who watches in pure despair as her brother is seemingly obliterated right before her eyes. But instead of blood, his body suddenly dissolves into a brilliant burst of neon blue light, revealing to a stunned Xiayan that he actually used a decoy to trick the beast, as his sister struggles to comprehend how he could possibly wield two different skills, while a pair of boots lands softly in the snow right behind the actual boss. Turns out our boy had already sneaked behind the shaman, completely bypassing the entire horde, flashing a smug grin as he prepares to show them the true power of his dual skill system. Dropping from the sky, Zhang Xiao catches the cowardly shaman completely off guard with his sudden ambush. He drives his dagger deep into the beast, delivering a swift and decisive fatal blow, instantly triggering a sweet system notification that awards him a skill point and dagger mastery, as the defeated boss collapses into the snow with its long white hair flying. But the victory is short-lived when a massive bodyguard beast suddenly looms over our hero, baring its razor-sharp fangs and locking its glowing green eyes onto him with pure malice, only to turn tail and sprint away in absolute terror of the kid's weapon. Letting out a massive sigh of relief, Zhang Xiao wipes the sweat from his brow, while the girls sprint over in a total panic to check if he survived, prompting his sister to demand a very thorough explanation for his secret duel skill setup. Zhang Xiao awkwardly tries to break the tension as his sister stares him down, begging to postpone the interrogation until they can find a safe place to camp, which eventually brings them to a cozy campfire under the freezing night sky, where Han Jiangshui stares into her warm mug, completely overwhelmed by his dual skill reveal, leaving our boy highly confused as to why she looks so incredibly depressed about it. Suddenly, Xiaxian chimes in to ask if he actually understands his new role, explaining that starting with a basic healing skill drastically boosts his future medical affinity, a legendary trait that only 1 in 100 combat-focused awakeners can ever hope to unlock. Hearing this, Zhang Xiao gets excited, thinking he is about to become a highly coveted superstar, but his sister's chilling gaze quickly warns him of the terrifying reality behind that status. National rules mandate 4-man teams, and everyone desperately craves a dedicated healer on their squad, because a single medical type completely dictates how long a squad can survive out in the wild, even if that healer only possesses one single healing spell in their entire arsenal. Zhang Xiao finally connects the dots, realizing his sister is just terrified of his low aptitude, knowing greedy organizations will happily exploit him as a disposable healing tool for dangerous raids, prompting Han Jiangshui to drop a bombshell by ordering him to become a normal hospital doctor, leaving our boy completely shattered that his path to godhood just got downgraded to a desk job. Fortunately, Xiayan immediately steps in to call out her best friend's extreme overprotectiveness, but the stoic mage looks down in quiet despair, clearly torn between logic and love. A heavy silence falls over the camp as Zhang Xiao watches her clutch her mug in sadness. Zhang Xiao looks down in silence, feeling the heavy weight of his sister's silent worry. Trying to break the tension, our boy cheerfully reminds them that he is only 16, while Xiayan drags her best friend away to count their hard-earned loot instead, ordering the kid to get some sleep before another brutal day of training begins. He smiles warmly, realizing for the first time how nice it feels to be cared for. This next morning, the sun rises over the freezing peaks as their training officially begins. But instead of a peaceful morning, Xiayan is already yelling his name from camp, advising him to use his brain instead of trying to tank a massive monster head-on, as a terrifying white beast towers over our boy, ready to crush him to pieces. She casually promises him some hot tea if he can just survive 30 more seconds. Gripping his blade with sweaty palms, Zhang Xiao braces himself for the oncoming onslaught, as a massive white beast lets out a deafening roar from the snowy slopes above, charging down with terrifying speed to crush our boy into a frozen pancake. Instead of panicking, the kid relies on his quick reflexes to dodge the lethal swipe, sending the giant predator crashing harmlessly into the snowbank right past him. But the relentless monster quickly recovers, spinning around to launch another vicious assault, prompting Zhang Xiao to grit his teeth and unleash a powerful counterattack of his own, channeling a brilliant streak of azure energy that slices cleanly through the freezing air, while the girls watch his training progress from a safe distance with mixed emotions. Xiayan gently reassures her brooding best friend that absorbing the Star Pearl was a massive win. Han Zhengshua sighs over her warm drink, deeply worried about Zhang Xiao's limited 9-star slots. Meanwhile, Xiayan points out they must prioritize practical and cost-effective skills for his limited slots, explaining that farming local white ghosts is his best bet to boost his meager star power, forcing our boy to accept this basic skill whether he actually wants it or not. This unlocks Azure Flash, a bronze-tier skill that delivers a solid strike with a handy knockback effect, which he immediately tests by blasting a charging beast backward with a burst of blue energy, sliding to a smooth halt in the deep snow as the training session wraps up. Turns out, Xiayan had him absorb a glowing white ghost star pearl first thing in the morning, prompting the kid to pull up his system interface to check the requirements for an upgrade, discovering that he can upgrade his skills using a combination of star pearls and hard-earned skill points. A glowing notification pops up, showing he still has 2 precious skill points left to spend, prompting Zhang Xiao to carefully plan his next move while analyzing his unique interface, knowing that normal people are stuck with whatever permanent skills they first lock in. But his broken system allows him to bypass these rules and evolve his abilities infinitely, though climbing the ranks requires a massive hoard of rare star pearls to trigger an upgrade, leading our boy to immediately absorb his newly acquired loot to boost his power. This system instantly registers the energy, successfully raising his overall star power in a flash, which pushes both of his shared bronze skills straight to their maximum level limit, triggering a massive evolution that upgrades both of his abilities directly to silver tier, ready to unleash this newly enhanced power on the next unfortunate beast that crosses his path. A massive white beast lunges down the snowy slope, aiming to crush Zhang Xiao into a pancake, only for our boy to calmly activate his upgraded star map, ready to test his new silver tier power, with a surge of pure electric energy crackling wildly inside his glowing blue eye. Down below, the girls scream in absolute panic, begging him to dodge the incoming attack. Instead, Zhang Xiao ignores their warnings, clenching his fist to unleash a massive crescent slash, locking his gaze onto the monster as the freezing air erupts with blinding light. His newly evolved Azure Flash tears through the valley, blasting the giant beast backward, sending the massive predator crashing face-first into the deep snow with a pathetic groan. Before the monster can even recover, a spinning blade of pure fire comes flying in, slicing through the target to deliver a brutal and flashy finish to their training session. This defeated white beast collapses onto the frozen ground, leaving a massive pool of dark blood, while Han Jiangshui calls out to our boy, demanding he explain his impossible abilities, ordering him to reveal his star chart immediately to prove he isn't hiding anything else, prompting the kid to display his glowing star map while spinning a highly convincing lie, explaining that his rare dual skill slot naturally upgraded after absorbing the shaman's powerful star pearl, hoping his quick-witted explanation is enough to keep his broken system a total secret. Hearing this, Xiaoyan softens up, reminding everyone that they are all on the same team. But his sister looks down in heavy silence, clearly burdened by a deep, unspoken guilt, before suddenly apologizing to her brother for keeping a massive secret of her own, leaving our boy completely baffled as she prepares to drop a major family bombshell. Zhang Xiao stands there completely dumbfounded, his brain short-circuiting as he tries to process her sudden confession. Han Jiangshui reveals that the legendary Void Shatter skill was actually meant for him all along, realizing she is talking about her overpowered Spaceverse devouring ability that can swallow massive monsters whole. He quickly waves it off, insisting her superior talent makes her far more worthy of it anyway. But his sister points out his insane luck with absorbing multiple dual-skill star pearls recently, believing his unique system might actually allow him to absorb a gold-tier skill next. Our boy sweat drops at her intense logic, wondering why she is overthinking this whole situation so much. She looks down in quiet despair, feeling like she is holding her brother back from greatness. Holding up a finger, the kid drops some cold, hard facts about star power limits, reminding her that a low-level awakener like him couldn't even activate a gold-tier skill anyway. Jiang Xiao explains that his current low rank means his star power is severely limited, pointing out that casting a gold-tier skill once would have left him completely defenseless, which makes his sister realize her overprotective plan was actually a major tactical mistake, so the kid gently reassures her that she made the right call back then. Overwhelmed with emotion, Han Jiangshui stares at him with watery eyes and pure gratitude, prompting our boy to immediately ruin the sweet moment by bragging about his superior intellect. Suddenly, a heavy hand claps onto his shoulder to cut his bragging session short, as Xiaoyan drags him into a suffocating headlock to ask about his upgrade limits, forcing the kid to explain that he can theoretically upgrade his skills infinitely through training, leaving the red-haired warrior to realize that raw power and skill level must grow together. Xiaoyan sighs dramatically, complaining that her plans to simply buy him upgrades just went up in smoke. But her playful expression quickly hardens as she delivers a stern, serious warning, explaining that his insane talent will draw dangerous attention once he officially enters high school, prompting Zhang Xiao to casually suggest simply joining her and his sister's elite squad instead. This bold proposal leaves both girls completely frozen in place, staring at him in absolute disbelief. Our boy scratches his head in confusion, wondering if he accidentally said something incredibly stupid, while Xiaoyan slowly processes the idea, her eyes widening as a brilliant realization hits her, shouting in excitement as she realizes that recruiting him is actually a stroke of absolute genius. Clutching her warm mug, she eagerly begins mapping out their future as a legendary team, determined to protect his monstrous potential while they conquer the high school league together. Han Jiangshui points out they can't just suppress his growth to keep his crazy talents hidden, prompting Xia Yan to lean forward with a brilliant, highly chaotic proposal of her own, suggesting that Zhang Xiao skip grades entirely to join their elite senior squad right away, which would fast-track his training and keep him perfectly safe under their direct protection. She smiles warmly, confident that their combined strength is more than enough to shield him, while planning to cover up his impossible skills by blaming them on inheritance from his parents, leading Han Jiangshui to agree, deciding they must upgrade his healing skill to silver first. Fortunately, Xiaoyan is absolutely loaded, casually offering to drop 2 million on rare star pearls, leaving our boy completely stunned as his dream of joining their team suddenly becomes reality, wearing a smug little grin as he officially secures his spot on the ultimate powerhouse squad. Zhang Xiao blinks in confusion as Xiaoyan suddenly drops a massive reality check on him, explaining that their elite high school squad is actually already completely full. This completely breaks our boy's brain, leaving him staring blankly with a loading icon, prompting him to scream in absolute frustration after they spent all that time planning. Xiaoyan tells him to calm down, introducing a guy named Gao Junwei who chases his sister, describing this guy as a highly capable close combat awakener with some major red flags. Turns out, this Gao Junwei is an incredibly arrogant jerk with a toxic personality, who nearly got their own teammate killed during a previous high-stakes dimensional competition, sparking a massive pride-fueled feud between two powerful families that nobody could resolve. Ultimately, this petty drama forced the girls to stop taking missions, leaving the team completely disbanded. Xiaoyan explains that if Zhang Xiao's strength improves just a bit more, he would finally be qualified to replace one of their toxic teammates, admitting that she originally planned to just leave the squad with his sister, but finding two other top-tier classmates to replace them is practically impossible. especially since established teams have spent 2 years preparing for the upcoming college exams, making elite players highly reluctant to break up and reorganize their squads, while weaker students would happily scramble to team up with two legendary carries. Leaving the team outright would invite massive backlash from their families and school. To make matters worse, this toxic guy Gao Junshin is aggressively pursuing his sister, forcing our boy to realize they absolutely cannot work with this creep anymore. Xiaoyan plans to use our boy as a secret weapon, replacing their toxic teammate in one fell swoop. Hearing this bold strategy, Zhang Xiao locks in with a look of pure, unadulterated determination, while the red-haired warrior promises they will clear his path to skip directly into senior year. This massive proposition plunges the snowy campsite into a heavy, contemplative silence as everyone weighs the risks, prompting Han Jiangshui to steal a quiet glance at her brother, her eyes filled with unspoken concern, before she gently breaks the silence, telling him there is absolutely no pressure to accept the offer. Even the chaotic Xiaoyan agrees, realizing they shouldn't force a newly awakened kid into the deep end. But our boy turns around, declaring he wants this challenge to survive in their dangerous world, leaving his sister completely stunned by his sudden maturity and fierce resolve to protect them both, as he confidently vows to join their elite squad and conquer whatever threats lie ahead. Han Jiangshui watches her brother with a soft expression, deeply touched by his sudden maturity, while the freezing wind continues to howl across the desolate, snow-covered mountain peaks. But the quiet atmosphere is shattered when another savage white beast is sliced wide open, earning Zhang Xiao a sweet system notification that upgrades his dagger mastery straight to silver tier. Our boy can't help but smirk, celebrating his first official solo kill while the girls were distracted. Suddenly, Xiaoyan approaches him with her hands on her hips, completely unimpressed by his bragging, shivering in the cold while begging him to use his star power to warm her up. He sighs, pointing out that his ability is for healing, not acting as a personal heater. Yet he still activates his signature blessing skill anyway, bathing her in a warm, glowing light, leaving the red-haired warrior looking absolutely ecstatic as she basks in the incredibly cozy healing energy. Standing in the freezing wind, Han Jiangshui breaks the silence to discuss their upcoming schedule, reminding her brother that they only have 1 week left before school officially starts. Zhang Xiao casually waves it off, fully prepared to endure whatever brutal training Xiaoyan planned. But their conversation is suddenly cut short when a dark streak shoots into the sky, exploding into a brilliant blue signal flare that illuminates the entire snowy valley. Staring up at the blinding light, Han Jiangshui's eyes widen in immediate suspicion, realizing that another group of explorers is in deep trouble and desperately calling for help. Our boy immediately locks in, asking his sister if they should rush over to investigate. But she quickly shuts him down, explaining that the signal is meant for official guardians, warning him that for rookies like them, a flare simply means run the other way. A pack of savage white beasts relentlessly pursues a desperate group of explorers through the snow, while their panicked leader carries an injured teammate, screaming for his squad to keep moving. Meanwhile, Han Jiangshui spots the incoming chaos and immediately orders her team to take cover. But the fleeing explorers are completely out of options as the monsters close the distance, leaving one exhausted teammate to panic as his star power rapidly drains to absolute zero. Hearing his subordinates' desperate cries, the ruthless captain simply grits his teeth in cold frustration. Suddenly, he channels a deadly burst of explosive fire magic directly into his fingertips, unleashing a blazing beam of destructive energy straight into his own teammate's back, prompting the betrayed warrior to look back in absolute horror as the flames consume him, as the wicked captain just smirks, promising to tell their clan leader he died a hero. Left behind and severely injured, the abandoned teammate collapses as the savage beasts close in. He screams in absolute terror, realizing his own captain just left him to die, reaching out a bloody hand as the selfish survivors disappear into the snowy distance. Heavy clawed footsteps shake the frozen ground, sealing the doomed warrior's tragic fate. Watching from behind a nearby boulder, Han Jiangshui and her brother witness the massive stampede, prompting our boy to nervously compare the chaotic monster rush to a legendary ghost parade, while his sister immediately recognizes the reckless group responsible for causing all this trouble, realizing they must have stolen a highly coveted BP from the local monster shaman. Zhang Xiao looks up in concern, asking his sister what their next move should be, but she tells him to wait, sensing a much deeper threat behind this massive hunt. Two powerful shaman clans are actively coordinating their forces to hunt down the fleeing thieves, which is actually perfect since Zhang Xiao desperately needs their rare star pearls to upgrade, making this chaotic monster stampede a golden once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for their little squad. Han Jiangshu immediately calls the play, shouting that it is time to strike, prompting Xiaoyan to leap from the shadows, targeting a massive shaman with her blade, unleashing a blazing azure flash strike, but the beast's counterattack is incredibly swift, sending the red-haired warrior flying backward to crash violently against a massive tree trunk. Groaning in pain, she collapses into the snow as her defense completely shatters. leaving Zhang Xiao to scream her name in absolute panic as the situation spirals, while he quickly crushes a glowing star pearl to desperately replenish his drained energy. Zhang Xiao immediately channels his signature blessing skill, bathing the fallen warrior in a warm pink glow, causing Xiaoyan to gasp in sheer ecstasy as the overwhelming healing energy floods her system. As she springs back to her feet looking completely hyperactive and ready to break something. Right on cue, a savage white beast charges out of the snowy mist to attack her, but the battle-drunk warrior just laughs maniacally, completely thrilled by the prospect of a brutal brawl, unleashing a massive, explosive slash that tears through the battlefield with terrifying destructive power. Watching from the sidelines, Zhang Xiao is absolutely horrified by her sudden, steroid-like burst of chaotic energy, sheepishly realizing that his overpowered healing spell might have buffed her just a little too much. His sister sighs, noting that having a pocket healer has made their teammate dangerously overconfident, before she immediately takes charge of the battlefield, preparing to blast the incoming shaman herself. Han Jiangshui commands her brother to watch her back as she prepares to unleash her magic, but a savage white beast suddenly breaks through the snowstorm, charging directly at our boy. Luckily, the monster completely falls for a decoy illusion, biting down on nothing but thin air, allowing Zhang Xiao to slip behind the beast and plunge his dagger straight into its skull, standing victoriously over his fresh kill with his eyes glowing with a cold, menacing light. Suddenly, a sweet system notification pops up, granting him a bonus skill point for 10 bronze kills, leaving our boy completely baffled as he realizes his teammates' kills also count toward his rewards. Before Xiaoyan interrupts his thoughts, shivering in the cold and begging him for another warm blessing, he immediately snaps back, reminding her that he is running dangerously low on precious star power, right as the massive red-robed white ghost shaman attempts to make a desperate run for it. Zhang Xiao screams at the top of his lungs, desperately trying to stop the fleeing shaman. Xiaoyan charges forward to cut off their escape, only to immediately trip over a tiny rock, leaving our boy staring in absolute disbelief as she faceplants spectacularly into the snow. Meanwhile, Han Jiangshui grits her teeth in frustration, realizing her wind magic is just out of range. While the enemy showman continues to speed away on the back of its savage mount, our boy desperately racks his brain, searching for any possible way to slow the targets down, suddenly remembering that his unique blessing skill is far from a normal healing spell, as it doesn't just mend wounds but floods the target with overwhelming euphoric comfort. This explains why his teammates always look so ridiculously ecstatic whenever he heals them, sparking a brilliant, slightly devious idea in his mind to turn this side effect into a weapon. Zhang Xiao launches his pink blessing beam straight at the fleeing monster mount, leaving the savage beast completely blindsided as the warm energy suddenly wraps around it, instantly sending the creature into a state of pure blushing euphoria amidst floating hearts. Meanwhile, the red-robed shaman is left utterly bewildered as his ride suddenly stops to enjoy a massage. Seizing the moment, the girls unleash a devastating flurry of slashes to finish the paralyzed targets, while Han Jiangshui watches the chaotic aftermath with her usual calm, analytical gaze, confirming that both the massive beast and the elite shaman have finally been put down. Collapsing against a nearby log, Xiaoyan lets out a massive sigh of pure relief, praising our boy for turning his wholesome healing spell into a weaponized euphoric trap. But his sister is far from amused, raising a threatening fist to keep them both in line. Clutching her freshly bruised head, Xiaoyan tearfully promises she will never act up again. Meanwhile, Han Jiangshu inspects a fallen explorer nearby, confirming he has already passed away. But Xiaoyan quickly cheers up, handing Zhang Xiao 2 rare star pearls from their kills, prompting our boy to ask if he can harvest the dead explorer's star pearl next, since leaving it behind means the local monsters will just eat it for a power-up. Still, Zhang Xiao is deeply disturbed by how casually these teenage girls discuss brain surgery, before his sister cuts his horror short, urging them to move before more monsters return. As they trek further, they stumble upon a gruesome trail of slaughtered team members, leaving our boy completely horrified as he realizes the entire fleeing squad was wiped out. Standing in grim silence over the frozen, bloody remains of the betrayal-filled expedition, Zhang Xiao covers his mouth in absolute disgust, completely nauseated by the grim reality of looting corpses. Han Jiangshui coldly points out that the dead explorers brought this tragic fate upon themselves, explaining that stealing a marked shaman cub meant they were marked for death from the start, and their only real chance of survival would have been abandoning the stolen prize immediately. Xiaoyan pouts in disappointment, wondering why such a high-level squad barely had any loot on them, while Han Jiangshui deduces they must have consumed their star pearls to survive the relentless chase. Shaking off the gloom, the red-haired warrior curiously asks if she can examine a human star pearl, prompting our boy to warn her about the creepy origins of this glowing purple orb, realizing that while it looks identical to monster drops, human pearls cannot grant any star skills. But his thoughts are suddenly interrupted when his system chimes in with an unexpected notification. Suddenly, his system screen flashes with a bright blue notification, scanning the human star pearl, leaving our boy completely stunned as he stares at the glowing purple orb in his hand, because the system is actively processing the forbidden energy swirling inside the dead explorer's pearl. A detailed status screen pops up, revealing that the pearl contains multiple upgradable combat skills, including high-level silver skills like Chime and Marking Seal that are fully compatible for absorption. Realizing he has 2 empty slots left, Zhang Xiao immediately targets the powerful group healing combo, before he calls out to his sister and Xiaoyan to deliver the shocking news. He casually explains that he can sense and absorb the healing skills locked inside this human pearl, prompting both girls to stare at him in absolute disbelief as their brains completely short-circuit. Han Jiangshui warns him that if anyone else discovers this terrifying ability, he will become a target. Xiaoyan gasps in absolute shock, demanding to know if he really only sensed the healing skills. But Zhang Xiao plays it cool, keeping his secret internal star map safely hidden away, offering the precious star pearl to Xiaoyan as a reward for her hard work. Though the red-haired warrior insists he absorb it himself to become her ultimate golden thigh. Grinning, our boy crushes the glowing purple orb, unleashing a surge of raw forbidden energy as the swirling magic wraps around him in a blinding flash of vibrant purple light, leaving both girls completely mesmerized by the sheer spectacle of his rule-breaking absorption process. Xiaoyan mutters in disbelief as he successfully unlocks both high-level silver skills at once. Sometime later, the squad safely returns to their apartment to wind down after the chaotic expedition, where our boy quietly stares at an old family photo, reflecting on his new life. Back in the apartment, Han Jiangshui picks up an old family photo while Zhang Xiao watches, whispering a quiet greeting to their missing parents as she stares at their faces, proudly updating them on how much her little brother has matured during this dangerous expedition, while our boy suddenly announces he needs a shower before his sweat-soaked body literally rots. She watches him walk away, her cold demeanor softening into a rare moment of quiet reflection, knowing that Zhang Xiao is destined to become a legendary awakened warrior just like their parents, though she still secretly doubts whether she is strong enough to keep him safe. But those deep family thoughts are instantly shattered when our boy opens his bedroom door, finding a chaotic wasteland of dirty laundry and rotting instant noodle cups waiting for him, leaving the legendary healer completely defeated by the toxic biohazard stench of his own messy room. Staring at the massive mountain of garbage, our boy realizes cleaning this biohazard will take forever. 3 grueling hours of scrubbing later, his desk is finally sparkling like a brand new showroom, with every single shelf completely dust-free and looking absolutely pristine in the soft light, allowing him to collapse onto his bed in a state of pure, exhausted satisfaction. Suddenly, he remembers he still has to delete the previous host's incredibly embarrassing digital footprint, so he boots up his computer only to find an old cringeworthy video introduction, featuring his past self loudly boasting about becoming the future god of the dimensional realms. Before the video version of our boy casually reveals he was literally rescued from a trash can, he goes on to praise his mother's beautiful name while preparing to explain his own, which was actually inherited from a deceased family dog in a peak moment of comedy. A sudden knock on the door abruptly interrupts Zhang Xiao's digital cleanup session, causing our boy to look back in surprise as he wonders who it could be. Turns out his sister is standing at the door, casually calling him over for dinner, but she immediately freezes in absolute shock as she looks inside his bedroom, completely unable to believe that her notoriously messy brother actually cleaned up his biohazard wasteland, leading them to the dining table where a spread of delicious, freshly cooked dishes awaits, prompting our former instant noodle addict to practically drool over the incredible home-cooked aroma. As she scoops him some rice, Han Jiangshui mentions that Xiaoyan is picking him up tomorrow, explaining that he has 5 days of brutal special training before joining his school's military camp, leaving our boy stuffing his face while wondering why they can't just skip the group training entirely. Han Jiangshui firmly rejects his slacking, insisting he must dominate the upcoming military training first, leaving our boy completely stunned by her high expectations as he processes the sudden ultimatum, before she casually tells him to eat up, promising that Xiaoyan will explain the rest, though she quickly adds a stern reminder for him to delete his incredibly embarrassing blog posts. Softening her tone, his sister lovingly piles extra meat onto his plate during their meal, sending our former instant noodle addict into absolute bliss over the warm, comforting taste of home. And the moment he finishes devouring every single bite, he gathers up the empty dishes, happily offering to do the chores so his hard-working sister can finally sit back and relax. She watches him with a rare, incredibly tender smile, deeply touched by his sudden maturity, as our boy happily scrubs the bowls clean, ready to face whatever brutal training awaits him. Zhang Xiao happily hums a tune while finishing up the mountain of dirty dishes, reaching over to grab a clean towel with a satisfied smirk on his face. But his gaze suddenly locks onto the refrigerator door as something catches his eye. Pinned to the metal surface are a couple of old, nostalgic family photographs, prompting our boy to lean in closer to inspect the dusty memories, quietly realizing that his usually terrifying sister was actually an incredibly adorable kid. This old photo shows their parents looking elegant alongside their 2 happy children, reminding him that the original host's parents mysteriously vanished into another dimension years ago. Suddenly, Xiaoyan bursts in and drags him into a suffocating, overly friendly headlock, leaving Han Jiangshui to watch in silence as the chaotic duo bickers down the hallway. As Zhang Xiao continues to bicker about his age, they head out of the apartment. Meanwhile, a mysterious man in a long coat stands silently inside a dark room, parting the curtains with a gloved hand to keep a close eye on them, watching from his high vantage point as the duo walks away into the streets. Soon after, they arrive at the prestigious luxury complex where Xiaoyan actually lives, and the energetic warrior practically flies down the stairs to kick off their training, introducing our boy to a massive, muscular fighter waiting inside her private home gym, who turns out to be Lei Jin, his brutal new coach for the next 5 days. while Xiaoyan explains that this hellish boot camp is just preparation for school, where he must quickly dominate the elite class and prove his worth to the selectors. Xiaoyan reminds our boy to stand out so the school leadership notices his potential, before she casually snatches his phone away to ensure he stays completely focused, leaving him stranded in the gym while she happily heads upstairs to relax. Stepping into her luxurious bathroom, the mischievous warrior prepares for a relaxing, warm shower, wrapping herself in a towel while plotting her next move with a smirk. Suddenly, her eyes lock onto the confiscated phone sitting right on the counter, prompting a devious, evil grin as she prepares to snoop through his digital secrets. Meanwhile, a dark-haired classmate unleashes a brutal flurry of punches on a heavy bag, pushing her physical limits to prepare for the upcoming competitive school training camp as she checks her phone, wondering if our boy is also surviving his hellish boot camp. Suddenly, Xiaoyan's phone chimes with a loud notification as she relaxes in the bathroom, revealing that her special follow, Zhang Xiao's embarrassing old account, has just posted an update, featuring a creepy candid photo of her legs alongside a cringy declaration of his love, leaving the red-haired warrior absolutely fuming as she stares at the screen with pure rage. Meanwhile, Zhang Xiao reviews the stats of Gao Junwei, a rival wielding a powerful blade star map, realizing this elite prodigy is already at the nebula phase and poses a massive threat, prompting our boy to sit down and trigger a massive surge of star power condensation, pushing his limits until his eyes glow blue and his stardust phase successfully levels up, leaving him cheering in absolute triumph as he inches closer to his high-level rivals. Unfortunately, his victory celebration is cut short by Xiaoyan's horrifyingly bland, healthy custom meal. Eating his bland, healthy meal, Zhang Xiao tearfully realizes he actually misses his toxic instant noodles, while his terrifying coach watches him closely, silently evaluating the kid's sheer determination, noting that our boy has been grinding from dawn until late into the night, pushing past his physical limits daily without a single complaint or moment of slacking, even studying complex combat manuals while pedaling away on the exercise bike like a madman, leaving the hardened coach completely awestruck, though he secretly just wants to go grab some barbecue. Meanwhile, the sun shines brightly over the luxurious estate of the wealthy Xia family, where Xiaoyan's father suddenly receives a shocking phone call that completely ruins his day, demanding to know why his wife didn't warn him about their daughter's latest stunt, because the wild red-haired warrior has apparently just brought a random boy back to her place. Cheyenne's mother smiles excitedly, thinking her daughter has finally found a handsome new boyfriend, but her husband quickly ruins the mood by revealing the boy is actually Zhang Xiao, sending both parents into a screaming match as they fiercely reject this sudden relationship. To prove his point, the stressed father shoves his phone forward to show her the evidence, revealing Zhang Xiao's incredibly cringy social media post praising their daughter's beautiful legs. Terrified by the post, the mother frantically demands her husband go stop them immediately. Meanwhile, back at the luxury estate, the quiet morning air is shattered by intense training sounds, as a rapid flurry of powerful fists cuts through the air with blinding speed, showing Zhang Xiao desperately trying to keep up with his brutal coach's relentless sparring session, prompting our boy to grit his teeth and punch even harder to prove his worth. Zhang Xiao unleashes a devastating punch that explodes with raw, concentrated physical force, sending his massive coach sliding backward across the gym floor in a defensive stance, who grins through his sweat and heartily praises our boy's impressive combat progress, prompting the young healer to smirk as he catches his breath after the clash. Standing on the training grid, he prepares himself for another intense round of sparring, thrilled that he actually managed to shake the veteran's defense without using star power. Lei Jin immediately drags him into another suffocating headlock to celebrate his fiery spirit, but their brutal bonding session is suddenly interrupted by the family's elderly maid, who is accompanied by a stern, wealthy-looking man glaring directly at our young hero, leaving Zhang Xiao trapped in a headlock while trying to identify this intimidating new visitor. Rewinding 10 minutes earlier, the family's elderly maid heads over to answer a sudden knock, only to find Xiaoyan's stern, wealthy father standing on the threshold looking incredibly displeased, demanding to know his daughter's whereabouts, only to learn she left for the dangerous snowfields, which actually pleases him since it means his wild daughter is finally showing some ambition. But when he asks if anything else has changed around the luxury estate lately, this maid nervously reveals that a young boy moved in and was immediately sent downstairs, instantly triggering his worst fears of illegal detention and a full-blown kidnapping scandal. He panics, imagining his daughter keeping her friend's poor son locked up behind iron bars, though the maid quickly clarifies that the kid is just undergoing brutal, bruise-inducing physical training, leaving the stunned father completely speechless at the thought of Jiang Xiao actually working hard. This maid suggests he go downstairs to check on them and stay for dinner, realizing his informant completely failed to mention the presence of a professional coach, and he is genuinely shocked to find them actually training with serious dedication. Accessing the original host's memories, Zhang Xiao immediately recognizes the wealthy visitor as Uncle Xia. Uncle Xia softens, pleased that the boy still remembers him after 10 long years. He warmly invites our boy to take a break, apologizing for his past neglect, prompting Zhang Xiao to silently appreciate the family's enduring loyalty to his sister. Suddenly, a pair of triumphant fists cuts through the air against the sunset, as the brutal coach loudly declares that this beautiful sunset demands a barbecue feast, leaving him to happily ditch his duties and run off to grab some skewers. Zhang Xiao's eyes light up with pure, unadulterated joy at the glorious mention of barbecue, chanting the word like a sacred mantra while Uncle Xiao watches his hilarious display. And soon, a mouth-watering array of sizzling meat skewers is laid out before them, sending our resident foodie straight into culinary heaven as he happily devours the delicious feast. Raising his drink, Uncle Xiao warmly admits how incredibly proud he is of the boy's growth, prompting Zhang Xiao to quietly reflect on the original host's long-lost parents and their mysterious disappearance. He asks if anyone lost in those dangerous alternate dimensions ever actually makes it back, but the wealthy man can only sigh, admitting the dimensional gates remain a complete mystery, revealing that the elite Pioneers Corps, where the kid's parents served, specializes in exploring those unknowns. This legendary group of dimensional explorers braves the most terrifying realms to uncover the truth. Diving back into the action, our boy's journey with his powerful allies is only getting started. Whenever a terrifying new dimensional gate tears open, the elite Pioneers Corps is always deployed first, braving the chaotic energy to assess the danger before anyone else even realizes what happened, cataloging every monstrous threat while scientists work tirelessly to study the bizarre phenomena from within. Uncle Xia explains that Zhang Xiao's parents were proud members of this legendary high-risk vanguard squad, taking a slow sip of his drink, hoping these heroic memories inspire the kid to push harder. Suddenly, our boy drops a heavy question, demanding to know the exact location of their disappearance, revealing a terrifying realm known as the Dragon's Lair where only high-level elites dare to tread, prompting the young healer to grip his wooden skewer so tightly it nearly snaps in half, leaving him staring into space with a burning determination to conquer this legendary deadly domain. Clearing his throat, Uncle Xia tries to steer the conversation back to a more serious topic, asking our boy when his highly anticipated elite school training camp is finally set to begin, while gently suggesting that his daughter might be pushing him way too hard in the gym, prompting Zhang Xiao to quickly defend her by explaining he requested this brutal intensity himself. This wealthy father then brings up the cringy social media post, warning him about their relationship, leaving our boy completely baffled as he proudly claims his ridiculous online username, before realizing his phone was confiscated on day one and he has been framed, as the peaceful dinner finally winds down and the final days of preparation fly by, bringing them straight to the fifth and final day of this grueling physical boot camp. Sitting in deep meditation, Zhang Xiao triggers a star power surge but hits a level 4 bottleneck. Saying his goodbyes, the brutal coach happily wraps up their training camp to head to his next client. But before our boy can even relax, his powerful sister Han Jiangxue suddenly appears right before him, casually tossing a plastic bag filled with mysterious, glowing blue spheres directly into his startled hands, explaining with absolute calmness that these are the incredibly rare white ghost shaman star pearls. Shocked by the sudden gift, our young healer frantically counts them only to find 4 full pearls, realizing his sister must have absolutely decimated the dangerous snowfields just to harvest this massive haul, while she nonchalantly asks if it is enough, offering to hunt down even more if needed, leaving Zhang Xiao completely speechless and blushing at his sister's incredibly intense display of sibling affection, quietly reflecting on the sheer danger she braved, returning to that frozen hellscape just for him. As the stoic warrior looks away, trying to hide her genuine care behind a cool, indifferent facade, Zhang Xiao looks up at his sister with sparkling, tear-filled eyes, completely overwhelmed by her kindness, before suddenly launching himself forward to wrap her in a massive, unexpected hug, squeezing her tightly while tearfully thanking her for risking her life in that frozen hellscape. Han Jiangxue gently pats his head, softly reminding him that family never needs to say thank you. But her warm expression instantly vanishes as she demands an explanation for his bizarre social media posts, revealing a series of incredibly embarrassing daily updates declaring his undying love for the red-haired warrior, leaving our boy trembling in pure horror as he stares at the fabricated evidence on screen. He frantically waves his hands, desperately explaining that his phone was confiscated and these posts are fake, pointing an accusatory finger at the absent prankster who clearly scheduled this sabotage before leaving for training, while his sister simply sighs in relief, admitting she already suspected her chaotic friend was behind it. Han Jiangxue urges him to absorb the star pearls and try upgrading his skills to silver, showing his current blessing and decoy skills sitting at a mediocre brass level 4. He recalls how he scavenged his previous pearls to reach this point in the first place, and now he pulls out another glowing sphere to begin the absorption process, crushing the rare pearl in his fist as pure energy surges straight into his body, prompting him to spend 2 extra skill points to push past his current limits, instantly triggering a massive upgrade that elevates both of his core skills to silver rank. His sister eagerly leans in to ask how the sudden upgrade feels, prompting our boy to flash a smug, mischievous grin that speaks absolute volumes, before raising a single finger to test his newly upgraded blessing directly on her. Xiaoyan stands frozen as the upgraded silver blessing hits her with absolute overwhelming force, instantly transporting her mind away from the cold gym to a sunny tropical paradise, leaving her completely mesmerized by the sheer warmth spreading rapidly through her entire body. She imagines herself lounging on a beautiful beach with a gentle sea breeze blowing past, washing away every single ounce of physical fatigue from her grueling training sessions. This incredible sensation of pure bliss leaves the fierce warrior blushing and totally defenseless, realizing that Zhang Xiao's newly upgraded silver grade blessing is an absolute game changer for recovery, though his stoic sister quickly scolds our boy for using his powers to play around. Soon, the highly anticipated day arrives as they finally pull up to Bincheng High School, where Han Jiangxue sternly warns him to behave and avoid picking fights with regular students. Xiaoyan playfully notes that Han Jiangxue has become much more talkative lately, before shoving our boy out of the car to go report in at school, leaving him to wave back as they cheer him on from the window. Standing before the massive school building, he watches the disciplined students lining up, reflecting on how he went from struggling in frozen wastelands to this moment, only to realize skipping straight to senior year is basically entering academic hell mode. He silently curses his luck, wishing he had reincarnated as a relaxed college student instead. Stepping inside, he is immediately summoned to the school's dreaded disciplinary office, where a stern teacher reviews his file and questions his rare 9-star slots, demanding to know if he skipped mandatory military training just to hunt in the snowfields. This stern teacher remains highly skeptical, assuming our boy is just making up excuses to skip military drills. But Zhang Xiao just flashes a cheerful smile, readily agreeing to show off his star map, summoning a brilliant glowing green constellation right above his head to prove his claims, instantly leaving the cynical instructor completely frozen in place, his jaw dropping in absolute shock, as he realizes the kid actually possesses 3 incredibly rare star skills on his map, specifically identifying them as Blessing, Azure Flash, and Chime glowing brightly before him, prompting the teacher to yell in disbelief, demanding to know how a rookie has 3 silver grade skills. Our boy quickly plays the pity card, blaming his power spike on inheritance pearls from his missing parents, which immediately strikes a chord with the teacher, who remembers their tragic disappearance 3 years ago, leading him to ask with newfound respect who actually escorted the kid into the dangerous snowfields. Zhang Xiao reveals his sister is Han Jiangxue, instantly clearing up any doubts about his training, and the teacher immediately connects the dots, realizing the kid took his heroic mother's surname, though he still pities the boy's low potential despite those 3 impressive silver grade skills. Deciding to see what the kid can do, the instructor tells him to follow along, leading our boy straight out to the school track where eager students are currently training, instantly catching the attention of a blonde twin-tailed girl who spots him from the crowd as her classmate points out that the coach is already heading over to greet him, sparking rumors about this mysterious new transfer student who skipped basic training to train solo. Suddenly, a massive familiar arm reaches out to welcome our boy back to the class, leaving Zhang Xiao completely dumbfounded to find his brutal personal trainer is actually his school coach. This school instructor looks on in confusion, asking if the two of them already know each other. Coach Lei flashes a knowing grin, explaining he just spent the last few days training the kid. Turns out he was sent as a last-minute substitute, leaving the school instructor completely speechless. Clearing his throat, the brutal trainer officially orders Zhang Xiao to fall back in with his classmates. Whispers immediately ripple through the crowd as the other students watch our boy with intense curiosity. Suddenly, an enthusiastic classmate calls out to him, waving him over to join their group. This friendly guy introduces himself as Lu Bufan, warmly offering to help the new transfer student settle in. He proudly boasts about his 19 star slots before asking our boy what his own count is, leaving the poor guy completely baffled when Zhang Xiao casually reveals he only has 9. Hearing this, a smug bully immediately sneers, loudly mocking our boy as a backdoor entry loser. Zhang Xiao narrows his eyes, refusing to let some random loudmouth ruin his first day, while the surrounding students immediately tense up, expecting a massive brawl to break out, prompting the blonde twin-tailed girl to whisper to her friend in sheer panic. Fortunately, their friendly classmate quickly steps in to diffuse the rapidly rising tension, but the smug bully refuses to back down, loudly mocking his pathetic star count, leaving our boy completely unfazed as he quietly listens to the guy's arrogant rant. With a calm smile, Zhang Xiao casually reveals he is actually a rare medical type awakened, instantly causing a heavy, dead silence to fall over the entire training field, as his classmate shrieks in absolute disbelief, demanding to know if he heard correctly. Before our healer smugly suggests they go check the official school records together, Lu Bufan sweats in sheer embarrassment, realizing his arrogant boasting just made him look like a total clown. This shocking revelation ripples through the crowd, leaving the arrogant bully completely frozen in disbelief, while her excited friend covers her mouth, apologizing for screaming her lungs out in public. She eagerly explains to Nana that Zhang Xiao is the only medical type in their entire grade, prompting the blonde girl to stare at our boy with a mix of curiosity and deep suspicion. Before any more drama can unfold, Coach Lei loudly dismisses the class to end their grueling session, as the exhausted students pack up their gear and head back toward the main school building. Zhang Xiao quietly walks among them, reflecting on the unique structure of this prestigious academy, realizing that behind the ordinary facade of normal high school life lies a completely different world, where elite awakened students are trained in specialized classes to harness their incredible star powers. This school system ranks everyone into 8 distinct classes based on their combat evaluations, and since Zhang Xiao arrived so late, most of the squads have already been formed, leaving him with only 3 days to prove his worth if he wants to compete. Bright and early the next morning, the grueling training sessions begin at 4 a.m. as a struggling student desperately begs her athletic friend Nana to slow down. But the blonde twin-tailed girl insists they must push their limits to avoid falling behind, her exhausted friend pointing out that they are literally the only ones suffering out here, before completely giving up and face-planting directly onto the hard-running track, tearfully lamenting her life choices because she really just wanted to draw manga in peace, while the rest of the dedicated class continues their relentless morning run around them. Zhang Xiao wipes his sweat, completely unaware that his intense work ethic is drawing some serious attention, when a sudden shout from across the track breaks his focus and makes him look up, revealing a cheerful classmate who eagerly waves him over to introduce herself as Liu Ke. Our boy flashes a charming smile, casually introducing himself by his nickname Zhang Xiaopi, only for the girl to suddenly lunge forward and aggressively grab his hand in pure excitement. Desperately asking if he has a squad yet and offering him a spot on hers, she eagerly locks hands with him, confirming if he really is the legendary medical type Awakened, promising that her tank and damage dealer lineup will keep their precious new healer completely safe. But her enthusiastic sales pitch is abruptly cut short by a heavy hand on her shoulder, as the tall blonde twin-tailed girl steps up to introduce herself as Liliana from Class 2. Liliana introduces her powerhouse teammates, presenting the formidable brothers Zhu Wen and Zhu Wu. Zhang Xiao quickly calculates the numbers, realizing a four-person team is the absolute sweet spot. But he points out the obvious issue that their roster already looks completely full, prompting the cheerful girl to eagerly volunteer as a mascot who just cheers them on, admitting she'd only tagged along with her bestie and has no desire to drag them down. Watching their playful banter, our boy notes that these twins are actually top-tier fighters in Class 2. Realizing a high-tier squad is exactly what he needs to level up, he prepares to negotiate, only for the stoic older brother to bluntly ask what medical skills he actually possesses, though his energetic younger sibling quickly nudges him to use some basic manners first, proudly flexing his fist-type star map to show off 20 slots and 2 decent brass skills. Liliana steps up next, flashing a confident smirk as she prepares to reveal her own impressive abilities. She proudly boasts a dual WAN star map with 21 slots and 4 decent brass grade skills, leaving Zhang Xiao to realize that while his sister is a monster, this is still elite tier. But our boy casually drops his own stats, revealing his 3 rare silver grade skills. This bombshell immediately stops the older twin in his tracks, his mind struggling to process the news, as he suddenly realizes the rookie before him possesses not 1 but 2 legendary healing abilities, prompting him to grab the kid and frantically demand confirmation on their actual grade. Hearing the word silver sends the entire group into a state of absolute screaming panic, while our poor healer sweat drops, completely unprepared for the chaotic storm he just unleashed, before the entire squad literally dogpiles him, begging their new favorite support to carry them. Zhang Xiao awkwardly asks his chaotic new teammates to just call him Xiaopi, realizing that securing a top-tier squad was actually the easiest part of his day. Suddenly, a loud commotion erupts nearby as a student aggressively lunges at a classmate, but the dark-haired target easily dodges the strike without even breaking a sweat, flashing a menacing smirk as a dangerous yellow energy begins to coat his fist. Clenching his hand as powerful shockwaves ripple through the air around him, he unleashes a devastating counterattack that sends his opponent flying across the field, prompting the nearby instructor to frantically blow his whistle to stop the brutal beatdown, as he furiously lectures the powerhouse, Gao Junshin, for treating classmates like dimensional monsters. Gao Junshin merely rolls his eyes in annoyance, muttering that the guy is still breathing. A purple-haired lackey points across the field, alerting his boss, Brother Chen, to the new transfer student. He complains about the white-haired rookie getting way too close to their class beauty, Liliana, explaining that this lazy newcomer has some nerve trying to steal the top dog's girl, prompting the arrogant powerhouse to crack his knuckles with a highly menacing grin. Deciding to teach the rookie a lesson, he orders his crew to follow him after class. Meanwhile, Zhang Xiao continues chatting happily with Liliana, completely unaware of the target on his back, as she eagerly suggests they head over to the school cafeteria to grab some lunch. Suddenly, the blonde girl realizes they completely forgot to exchange contact info during yesterday's chaotic meeting, happily offering to pull their rare new healer into all the official class group chats, prompting our boy to readily agree as he pulls out his phone to lock it in. Meanwhile, Gao Junshin and his lackey lurk behind a tree, keeping a close eye on their target, and the lackey's warning about hand-holding instantly sends the arrogant bully into a jealous rage, prompting him to plot a sneaky ambush once our clueless healer is finally left alone. Unaware of the looming threat, Zhang Xiao and his new squad head into the bustling school cafeteria, only for the lunch lady to announce his new student meal card isn't activated yet, but his eager female teammates immediately jump at the chance to pay for his lunch, leaving our boy to politely decline their offer while planning to visit the academic office later. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls out from across the room, drawing attention to a nearby table, where his sister's friend playfully teases Han Jiangshou about her little brother's sudden popularity with girls, while the stoic sister watches silently as a group of bullies prepares to crash his lunch. Her friend playfully asks if the young healer is already falling in love so early, but Han Jiangshou calmly tells her to just leave her little brother alone for once. leaving the brown-haired girl completely shocked by how incredibly chill the protective sister is being. In reality, Han Zhongshui silently reflects on how rebellious her brother used to be, remembering how a single harsh slap and a brush with death completely changed his entire personality. She believes making friends is actually healthy for him, even if her companion remains highly skeptical, prompting the dramatic friend to clutch her head in agony over her own nagging motherly instincts. Meanwhile, our boy happily strolls through the hallway while staring down at his phone, eagerly preparing to text his sister the amazing news that he already secured a top-tier squad, only for a hostile voice to suddenly call him a punk, instantly ruining his peaceful afternoon. A group of smug lackeys suddenly corners Zhangxiao, inviting him for a very suspicious walk, leaving our poor healer sweating as he realizes his peaceful school day is officially over. And before he can even protest, the thugs aggressively grab his arm and drag him away. Reflecting on his past life, he realizes he was actually too invisible to ever get bullied, but now he gets to check this classic high school experience right off his bucket list. Shoved into a dark storage room, a cold voice suddenly calls out his nickname, From the Shadows, revealing the jealous powerhouse who is absolutely furious about our boy getting cozy with Liliana, prompting Zhang Xiao to look back with a mixture of sheer annoyance and genuine confusion, as the arrogant bully proudly introduces himself as Gao Junchen, the undisputed top dog of Class 1, flashing a menacing grin as he demands to know why the rookie dared touch his girl. Gao Junchen lunges from above with a wooden sword, determined to teach our boy a painful lesson, but Zhang Xiao barely dodges the glowing strike, feeling the intense heat of the near miss. While dodging, the name Gao Junchen suddenly rings a massive bell in his head. This aggressive bully presses the attack, swinging his weapon with terrifying speed and precision, prompting our healer to realize this guy must be related to his previous enemy, Gao Junwei. Watching the lethal swings, Zhang Xiao genuinely wonders if this lunatic is trying to murder him, especially since the arrogant rich kid openly boasts that his family's influence makes him completely untouchable. He flashes a smug grin, completely convinced that his status shields him from any consequences, though our boy calmly points out that cornering classmates is a massive violation of school rules, only for the bully to laugh it off, claiming his powerful brother will cover any mistakes. Surrounded by the smug lackeys, Zhang Xiao calmly decides to state his class to avoid trouble, casually announcing to his captors that he is actually a rare medical type awakened, which immediately prompts the lead thug to spit out his drink in pure disbelief, as the entire group bursts into hysterical laughter over the rookie's ridiculous claim. This smug bully sneers, pointing out that a 9-slot trash is still completely useless, ordering his goons to pin the healer down so they can test his durability. Unfortunately for them, Zhang Xiao instantly grabs the first attacker and slams him into the floor, leaving the lead thug absolutely furious that a mere support actually dared to fight back. But our boy merely glares back, his fist crackling with a sudden surge of powerful energy, before delivering a devastating counterpunch that sends the arrogant bully flying across the room. This lead thug coughs up blood, his face twisted in absolute shock from the impact, before he goes sailing backward through the air with a pathetic, high-pitched scream, crashing violently against the wall as the sheer force of the blow completely breaks him. This sudden display of raw violence leaves Gao Junchen sweating bullets and raising his guard, while his remaining lackeys freeze in place, suddenly questioning all of their life choices. Realizing his reputation is on the line, the furious boss orders his crew to charge, but Zhang Xiao immediately intercepts the first runner with a devastating, high-speed leg whip, quickly following up with a brutal chin strike that sends another lackey straight to sleep. Watching his entire squad get dismantled, the enraged bully prepares to swing his wooden sword, only for our clever healer to flash a menacing grin and cast a glowing blessing. This glowing blessing hits Gao Junchen right in the face, triggering an immediate, overwhelming sensation, leaving the arrogant bully completely dazed as he struggles to process this bizarrely pleasurable feeling. Sweat pours down his face while his mind goes entirely blank from the sheer shock. Suddenly, our menacing healer materializes right behind him like a terrifying ghost in the shadows, delivering a brutal, high-speed fist straight to the bully's face before he can even react. Zhang Xiao relentlessly pins the guy down, unleashing a flurry of punches in the name of justice. With his face hilariously swollen, the crying powerhouse desperately threatens to tell his older brother, but our boy merely smiles back, reminding him that this is just a friendly school spar. Meanwhile, the lead lackey groans in pain against the shattered wall, crying about his broken ribs, prompting the terrifying healer to look down with a mockingly sympathetic grin. Zhang Xiao looks down at the groaning thugs, casually telling them not to worry about their injuries, flashing a terrifyingly smug grin as he promises to heal every single bone he just shattered. Meanwhile, outside the storage room, the peaceful school atmosphere is about to be shattered, as a panicked student frantically directs a scene teammate toward the scene of the supposed bullying. This dark-haired teammate sprints across the campus, desperately praying she can save their new healer in time, slamming the storage room door open with a dramatic kick to stop the brutal beatdown, screaming for everyone to stop while tearfully blaming herself for leaving our poor boy unprotected, only to freeze in absolute wide-eyed shock at the bizarre sight waiting inside the room. Scattered across the floor lies the bully's broken wooden sword, completely snapped in half, while another teammate finally catches up, gasping for air and frantically asking if anyone got hurt. This panicked student stands by the doorway, completely stunned by the absolute chaos inside the room, where Zhang Xiao is casually dusting off his hands while the bullies lie groaning in a pile, prompting his worried teammate to rush over, desperately calling out his nickname in pure relief. She frantically inspects him for injuries, completely ignoring the literal pile of broken bodies behind him, leaving our boy quite confused as she explains how she heard about his sudden kidnapping. Pointing to the bystander behind her, she explains she was already searching for him after his texts stopped, clutching her face in sheer relief that her precious new healer didn't get brutally pulverized. Suddenly, she tells him to head back to class while she handles the cleanup, making Zhang Xiao realize she is actually trying to cover up his crime out of habit. But he cheerfully assures her that there is absolutely nothing to cover up since everyone is fine. One of the battered lackeys quickly covers for our boy, nervously claiming they were just having a friendly spar, while internally realizing that medical types are actually absolute demons you should never mess with. Meanwhile, back in the main school building, a pathetic crying voice echoes down the hallway. Gao Junchen trembles in pure terror, clutching his broken sword while recalling that terrifyingly toxic blessing, desperately begging his powerful older brother to avenge his humiliating defeat and replace his ruined weapon. His older brother calmly tells him to focus on training instead of crying over spilled milk, which instantly sends the dramatic little brother into a fit of tearful, overjoyed gratitude, as the doting sibling flashes a warm smile, calling him his most precious little brother. Reinvigorated by the sibling love, the spoiled bully happily waves goodbye and heads back to training. But the moment the door closes, the older brother's warm smile instantly turns ice cold. Meanwhile, the cold-hearted older brother reflects on Zhang Xiao, recognizing him as the supposedly useless sibling of Han Jiangshui. Back at the dinner table, the blonde teammate apologizes for dragging our boy into her admirer's drama, prompting the brown-haired girl to suggest they immediately report the shameless bully to their teacher. But Zhang Xiao merely smiles, explaining he already handled the situation with a very thorough physical education session. Hearing this, his red-haired teammate gets incredibly fired up, promising they will fight as a unit from now on, while the other male teammate agrees, noting they only found out about the ambush because a bystander intervened. This brown-haired girl eagerly praises that bystander for having the common sense to call the legendary senior Han, explaining that this elite senior actually shares a squad with the bully's powerful older brother, only for our boy to casually drop a massive bombshell, revealing that this legendary frost goddess is his sister, leaving his teammate completely starstruck as she struggles to process this mind-blowing connection. Zhang Xiao rolls his eyes at his sister's dramatic frost goddess title, completely unimpressed by the hype, before slamming his chopsticks onto the table to announce some very serious news to his teammates, explaining that his sister's elite squad is currently dealing with some massive, life-threatening internal drama. This news leaves his red-haired teammate completely shocked, considering our boy only has 9-star slots. But Zhang Xiao calmly explains his plan to shine during the upcoming military training showcase, pointing out that he is currently the only rare medical type awakened in their entire grade, which his blonde teammate admits will definitely make the instructors see him in a new light. However, she warns him that his sister's high-level dimensional missions are only going to get more dangerous, prompting our loyal healer to smile warmly, stating he completely trusts his family no matter what, before offering a sincere apology since this plan means eventually leaving their newly formed squad. Zhang Xiao sits quietly at the hot pot table, waiting for his teammates to react to his sudden departure, but his athletic teammate slams the table, completely dismissing any need for an apology, while the red-haired mage pumps his fist, declaring they will always have his back no matter what, leaving our boy genuinely touched as he asks if they are really not mad at him. Liliana smiles warmly, assuring him that they would never hold him back from his true potential, pointing out that the squad is actually the one riding his incredibly overpowered coattails. Meanwhile, the brown-haired girl stuffs her face while tearfully mourning the loss of their god-tier healer, only for Liliana to hilariously expose her for just wanting to slack off as a substitute. Grateful for this wholesome support, Zhang Xiao offers a genuine smile and thanks his amazing crew, generously promising his share of the upcoming rewards to the lazy substitute, who frantically declines. Raising a red can high in the air, Zhang Xiao decides to seal their new bond. He proudly declares that his friendship is worth far more than any silly reward, prompting his teammate to instantly choke on his drink over the sheer, unadulterated cringe. 3 days later, the highly anticipated military training showcase finally kicks off in the packed stadium, where eager upperclassmen are already live-streaming the freshmen to a crowd of excited viewers. Though the popular streamer Suru remains entirely unimpressed by the rookie lineup, suddenly a shocked gasp from the crowd draws everyone's attention back to the field, as a massive bolt of lightning violently strikes down a completely helpless student, leaving the poor kid smoking and gritting his teeth in pure, absolute agony. Standing victorious is a smug lightning mage, ready to dominate the entire freshman class. This beaten opponent immediately screams in surrender, desperate to escape any more painful lightning strikes. But the victorious lightning mage merely scoffs, completely bored by how easily his opponent folded. As the announcer declares a flawless victory, the smug winner walks off to let the next team prepare. Up in the stands, the popular streamer Suru records the action, completely amazed by his silver-grade skill. While her chat explodes with hype, Zhangxiao casually steps onto the field with his wooden sword, prompting the streamer to notice our boy looking around the stadium as if searching for someone specific. Suddenly, the arrogant lightning mage points directly at Zhangxiao, screaming a loud threat for everyone to hear. He loudly vows to make our favorite healer regret everything once they face off on the arena stage, leaving the streamer absolutely baffled by this sudden dramatic clash between the two freshmen. Meanwhile, an elite senior smiles coldly, noting that their younger brothers seem to have a rather intense feud. Up in the stands, the bully's older brother calmly offers to step in if the match gets too violent. But Han Jiangshuo immediately shuts down his patronizing attitude with a single icy glare, her terrifying purple eyes flashing as she commands him to keep his mouth shut. This instantly turns the powerful senior into a sweating mess, quickly agreeing to obey her every command, though he still tries to play the nice guy by claiming he only cares about her brother's safety. Suddenly, a bubbly upperclassman squeezes right between them, completely ignoring the incredibly tense atmosphere, eagerly asking if the first-year finals have started while looking around for her favorite little healer, leaving the annoyed senior grumbling under his breath while she happily chats with our boy's sister. Meanwhile, the popular streamer overhears the name, realizing this rookie healer is actually a major player, as the chaotic match on the field turns into a hilarious one-sided beatdown for an easy victory. On the field, the blonde mage easily sets an opponent's pants on fire for another effortless victory, while the heavy-hitting twin brothers absolutely pulverize the next team to secure their third consecutive win, leaving the popular streamer convinced that Zhang Xiao is just a lucky slacker riding his teammates' coattails. Meanwhile, the opposing team's vanguard plots to vote our boy's squad out after the upcoming finals, prompting his worried teammate to wonder if the bully's older brother already suspects Zhang Xiao's true strength. Liliana reassures her, explaining that the enemy only knows about his basic blessing skill, not his true grade, meaning they can easily catch their arrogant opponents completely off guard when the real battle begins. Though their athletic teammate warns that the bully is still a formidable fighter who simply underestimated them before. Adding to the tension, the white-haired teammate notes that the enemy's agile assassin poses a massive threat to Nana, but remains confident that their star mage can still wipe them all out with her explosive flames. Liliana points out that explosive flame magic is slow to charge and highly prone to friendly fire, but Zhang Xiao simply smirks, noting that hitting them will be easy if they cannot move, detailing a devious plan to lock the vanguard down with his toxic blessing while Nana charges her spell. Suddenly, the announcer's voice echoes through the stadium, calling for the next teams to take the stage, prompting our boys' squad to step forward, ready to finally show off their true tactical coordination, while their smug opponents stand waiting, completely unaware of the absolute nightmare about to hit them. As both teams march onto the battlefield, the crowd holds its breath in anticipation of the clash. Meanwhile, up in the VIP booth, a high-ranking military instructor watches the arena with keen interest, wondering if this unassuming rookie is truly the only rare medical type awakened in the entire freshman class, before narrowing his eyes in curiosity, demanding to know the exact nature of our boy's star map. This female instructor explains that Zhang Xiao's star map is shaped like a spoon, resembling a staff, before revealing his name and the fact that he is actually Han Zhangshue's younger brother, which instantly sends the high-ranking military instructor into a state of absolute shock, realizing that the legendary Pioneers Corps has produced yet another incredibly rare medical-type genius. However, the female instructor silently notes that Zhang Xiao and his sister are absolute polar opposites, explaining that while his sister is a legendary genius with 30 coveted star slots, our boy only possesses a measly 9, leaving the military instructor completely dumbfounded. He immediately accuses her of lying just to prevent him from recruiting the kid, but she simply points down toward the arena, telling him to watch the match unfold. Down on the court, both teams finally square off, ready to unleash absolute chaos on each other. As the team steps onto the court, their vanguard locks his eyes onto the opposing lineup. Leaning in close, Zhang Xiao instructs his blonde teammate to prepare 2 massive shots of explosive flame. She hesitates, worried that double casting such high-tier magic might actually blow their opponents to pieces. But our boy coldly reminds her that their enemies will not be holding back either. Reassuring her that the school's medical staff can easily patch up any survivors, she reluctantly agrees. He confidently predicts that the arrogant bully will blindly charge first, making him an easy target, prompting the blonde mage to wonder how he can be so absolutely certain of their enemies' moves. Placing a hand on her shoulder, Zhang Xiao delivers his reasoning with absolute chilling confidence, explaining that the hot-headed bully simply cannot resist the urge to show off, and sure enough, the enraged idiot immediately charges forward the second the match begins. This referee waves the red flag to officially kick off the highly anticipated match, and Gao Junshin immediately charges forward, swinging his massive blade with terrifying force, revealing his legendary 24-slot Tang Blade star map to completely obliterate his opponents. This sudden flex leaves the crowd completely stunned by his massive raw power, as experienced onlookers note that a melee fighter showing their hand early means absolute war. With lightning crackling around his weapon, the aggressive vanguard sprints straight toward his targets, prompting the red-haired teammate to yell for their blonde mage to start her spell, who instantly summons her twin wand star map to condense a massive wave of fire. Meanwhile, the enemy team rushes down the court, completely blind to the trap waiting for them, while Jiang Shao's frontliners calmly wait for the perfect moment to spring their deadly trap. Gao Junshin charges forward with with his massive blade, completely focused on obliterating his targets. But just as he gets close, our boy's team springs their perfectly timed trap, as Jiang Xiao raises his hand to unleash his signature pink glowing star skill. This healer activates his overpowered blessing, sending a wave of chaotic energy straight at the bully, wrapping the arrogant vanguard in a swirling vortex of pure, overwhelming sensory pleasure. With his eyes instantly turning into pink hearts, the bully realizes he is completely paralyzed, prompting the red-haired teammate to scream for their blonde mage to finally strike, who confidently smiles as her massive explosive fire spell finally finishes charging up. Giant pillars of devastating flame rain down, completely engulfing the helpless, immobilized vanguard, leaving the utterly defeated bully gritting his teeth in pure, absolutely unadulterated rage. At that exact moment, the enemy vanguard leaps through the air with his lightning-infused blade, crashing down in a massive explosion of fire and electricity that shakes the entire arena, leaving Liliana coughing through the thick smoke as she anxiously wonders if their attack actually landed. Suddenly, a cold sweat breaks out on her face as a terrifying presence sneaks up from behind, revealing the enemy's agile assassin lunging forward with a razor-sharp dagger aimed straight at her, forcing our blonde mage to spin around in absolute panic as the lethal strike closes in. With the assassin's reflection locked in her trembling eyes, she freezes as painful memories flood back, recalling her brutal childhood training where she desperately struggled to hold up heavy buckets of water, while her strict instructor harshly lectured her on the necessity of self-preservation as a backline mage, warning her that any weakness on her part would inevitably get her entire team killed. This agile assassin strikes from above, forcing our blonde mage to block with her staff, prompting her panicked, white-haired teammate to scream her name in absolute terror. But Liliana merely smirks through the sweat, refusing to let this assassin break her guard, before unleashing a sudden burst of fire that violently blows both of them apart. This explosive counter leaves her teammate completely stunned by her sheer raw power, while the onlookers in the stands watch in stunned silence as the dust clears, revealing the enemy assassin gritting her teeth in pain from the fiery blast. Seeing his chance, Jiang Xiao offers a smug compliment before preparing his next move, instantly hitting the helpless assassin with his notoriously overpowered, pleasure-inducing blessing skill, leaving her completely paralyzed while our boy commands Nana to finally finish the job. Liliana locks her eyes onto the target, ready to unleash her ultimate explosive power, sending a relentless barrage of devastating fireballs directly at the struggling, immobilized assassin, which triggers a massive, blinding explosion that completely rocks the entire arena floor, leaving the enemy assassin coughing in the smoke as the announcer declares her officially eliminated. Up in the stands, the crowd goes absolutely wild over Nana's insane melee mage combat style, while others are left utterly baffled by Jiang Xiao's bizarre, toxic healing tactics, prompting one spectator to wonder why the healed victims react with such suspicious pleasure. Meanwhile, the red-haired teammate decides he cannot let the girls steal all the spotlight, charging straight into the fray to unleash his own explosive physical might, landing a brutal, bone-shattering punch that sends their next opponent flying backward. Gao Junshin's is sent flying through the air, barely managing to land back on his feet. He glares back at our boy with absolute hatred, completely humiliated by the opening exchange. Angry, the bully screams at Jiang Xiao to stop using his disgusting star skill, but our boy simply closes the distance, looking down at the bully with a smug, mocking grin, happily agreeing to fight without star skills while reminding the idiot of a very important detail, leaving the bully sweating in sheer panic as he remembers their brutal, bare-handed storage room brawl. Without wasting a single second, Jiang Xiao unleashes a devastating punch straight to the bully's jaw, following up with a brutal elbow strike that completely shatters whatever pride the guy had left, before delivering a massive high kick that sends him reeling backward in absolute agony, prompting the bully's panicked older brother to scream for the referee to stop this one-sided beatdown. Holding the beaten bully by his collar, Jiang Xiao casually asks if he is finally ready to surrender. Mocking the guy's pathetic threats, our boy asks if the prestigious Gao family only excels at barking. Charging up his fist with a bright blue aura, Jiang Xiao gives him one final warning, before preparing to deliver a brutal finishing blow that will shut the loudmouth up for good. Knocked out cold on the arena floor, the arrogant bully is officially declared eliminated by the announcer, leaving his terrified teammate trembling on the cracked ground as he realizes he is completely doomed, prompting the panicked kid to frantically wave his hands and scream his surrender to the referee. At that exact moment, another hand shoots up in the air to forfeit the hopeless match, as their last standing fighter complains about the sheer absurdity of facing a brutal 4-on-1 beatdown. With the entire opposing squad utterly crushed, the referee waves the flag to crown Class 2 victorious. This stadium erupts into absolute chaos as Class 2 celebrates their utterly dominant victory, with classmates rushing down to shower Liliana with praise for her insane backline defense, while the rest of the class happily roasts the elite honor students for getting absolutely stomped. Up in the VIP booth, the military instructor watches the aftermath with a highly intrigued expression, noting that their unpredictable tactics and Zhang Xiao's bizarre blessing skill are definitely not normal, prompting Principal Yan to finally reveal that our boy's healing skill is actually silver grade, explaining that the skill has undergone an incredibly rare mutation she has never seen before, leaving the seasoned military officer completely stunned by the sheer absurdity of such high-tier power, though he realizes it makes sense once he remembers the kid's legendary pioneer parents. Meanwhile, our boy's teammate chuckles, calling this chaotic victory a literal blessing in disguise. As the celebration continues, a heavy pair of boots steps onto the arena floor, and the defeated bully's furious older brother storms over to confront our smug healer, screaming in absolute rage about how Zhangxiao went way too far on his unconscious sibling. But our boy simply cleans his ear, asking if this angry intruder is the referee. Confused by the sudden disrespect, the brother freezes as Zhangxiao claims to be a fortune teller, offering to predict exactly what kind of beatdown is waiting for him next, raising a single finger while the furious brother screams at him to drop the act. This blatant disrespect pushes the older brother over the edge, prompting him to charge up his magic. But the female instructor immediately steps in, ordering him to get back to his own bench, leaving the frustrated hothead with no choice but to turn around and walk away in shame. A bitter rival issues a final warning for their upcoming afternoon challenge match, but our boy is far too busy stuffing his face in the cafeteria to care, until a sudden voice interrupts his peaceful meal, catching him completely off guard. This friendly stranger introduces himself as Li Weiyi, a teammate of Zhang Xiao's sister, prompting the kid to realize this is the guy who supposedly has beef with their rivals. Chewing his food, Zhang Xiao wonders how his sister could put such a handsome guy on the front lines, only for the proud tank to strike a sparkly pose, claiming it is his absolute honor to protect everyone, though he quickly admits that facing terrifying monsters is nothing compared to dealing with his sister's temper. Our clueless healer is left completely baffled, since he always thought his sister was perfectly sweet. Before the tank explains, he sneaked in to brief him on the upcoming high-stakes senior challenge match. Li Weiyi explains that the principal approved their plan, leaving the team's fate entirely in Zhang Xiao's hands. Meanwhile, the senior group finals kick off in the preparation zone as the girls warm up, with Xiaoyan stretching out her muscles to prepare for the absolute chaos ahead. Suddenly, the announcer calls for Senior Class 1 to make their grand entrance onto the field, prompting the handsome shield tank to lead the charge with his massive weapon and confident grin. Right behind him, Zhang Xiao's sister steps out, instantly sending the crowd into a total frenzy, while Xiaoyan happily waves to her screaming fans, fully soaking in the idol-like treatment. Watching from the stands, our boy sweats in disbelief at this literal rockstar reception, as a nearby classmate excitedly reminds him that this is the legendary Overlord squad, leaning in to explain that they are the undisputed strongest team in the entire school. A massive surge of golden lightning crackles across the arena, signaling the arrival of absolute dominance, as Gao Junshin's older brother prepares to unleash his terrifying high-tier blade skills on the field, revealing Gao Junwei, a lethal agile combatant boasting a massive 25-star slots on his map. This grand entrance instantly sends his obsessed fangirls in the stands into a total screaming frenzy, while his handsome shield tank teammate casually tells him to relax and not rush his victory. But the furious swordsman merely tells him to shut up, completely consumed by his own rage. Glaring across the field, his eyes lock onto the female instructor with pure, unadulterated hatred, recalling how she deliberately delayed stopping the previous match just to let his brother get pulverized. Gripping his weapon, he demands to know if they can finally start this highly anticipated match, forcing the sweating referee to quickly wave her flag and officially kick off the senior showdown. This referee finally blows the whistle, officially kicking off this highly anticipated senior showdown. Instantly, a massive bolt of golden lightning strikes the arena floor as the battle begins, prompting the opposing team's leader to quickly command her squad to hold their defensive formation. But Gao Junwei merely smirks, completely confident in his overwhelming superiority as he closes in, unleashing his gold-grade terrifying roar skill that summons a massive, spectral beast behind him, leaving the opposing frontliner completely paralyzed with fear as the shockwave hits her. Staring up at his overwhelming presence, her instincts scream at her to run far for her life. She trembles in absolute horror, realizing the massive gap in power is simply too wide, while her blonde leader desperately yells at her to snap out of the mental illusion. But the sheer terror is too much, forcing her teammate to drop his weapon and surrender. Desperate to stop his terrifying charge, the blonde leader screams at her teammate to unleash his flame magic, prompting the panicked mage to quickly charge up his staff with a burst of explosive fire, which unleashes a massive pillar of flames directly onto the advancing gold-tier monster. But Gao Junwei shrugs off the blast like a minor breeze, looking completely bored by their efforts. Up in the stands, the spectators lose their absolute minds over his ridiculous one-sided dominance, complaining that fighting a wealthy pay-to-win player with gold-grade skills is just plain unfair. Back on the field, the blonde leader desperately tries to rally her trembling, terrified teammate, though her own sweating face betrays the sheer hopelessness of their current situation, especially when the terrifying swordsman suddenly materializes right above her with glowing, murderous eyes, mockingly asking why she is even bothering to endure a beatdown that is already guaranteed. Without showing a shred of mercy, Gao Junwei unleashes a blinding, lightning-fast slash directly at his target, triggering a massive shockwave of energy that completely obliterates the arena floor in an instant, as the announcer quickly declares Senior Class 1 the undisputed winners of this brutal match. Trembling in the dirt, the defeated blonde leader can only stare in absolute disbelief at her loss, while the arrogant swordsman stands over her like a ruthless god, completely bathed in golden lightning. He casually charges his blade with scorching flames, clearly intending to inflict even more unnecessary pain, letting out a smug, mocking chuckle as he prepares to deliver a highly illegal finishing blow, slicing down ruthlessly to leave his opponent bleeding out on the cold, cracked ground below. Her eyes widen in absolute terror as she realizes this psychopath actually intended to kill her, prompting the terrified referee to scream for the medics to rush in and save the dying girl. This furious female instructor storms over, screaming at the arrogant swordsman for blatantly violating the rules. But Gao Junwei merely shrugs it off, mockingly suggesting the school's healers are paid to handle this anyway, leaving Zhang Xiao's sister absolutely livid as the psychopath dismisses the near-fatal blow as a minor scratch. Disgusted by this blatant cruelty, the handsome shield tank steps up to call him a rabid dog, only for the arrogant swordsman to bump right past him, calling him a pathetic bleeding heart saint, casually walking away while claiming they should all be thanking him for securing their victory single-handedly. Meanwhile, the medical team desperately rushes onto the field to stabilize the unconscious, heavily bleeding girl, who can barely breathe as she violently coughs up blood from her severe internal injuries. Stepping up to the scene, our boy raises his hand to activate his signature healing magic, unleashing a massive pillar of silver-grade blessing to instantly soothe her pain and save her life. As Yang Xiao continues to heal the victim, the arrogant swordsman watches him with pure disdain, glaring down at our boy as if saving a life is some kind of personal insult. But our favorite healer doesn't even blink, focusing entirely on stabilizing his patient. Mocking Zhang Xiao as another annoying saint wannabe, the psychopath casually walks off the field. Up in the stands, the instructors note that his violent nature will always hold him back, prompting Principal Yan to deliver a stern lecture about pointing weapons at teammates instead of monsters, warning the students that bullies will eventually be consumed by the very power they abuse. She then announces the traditional challenge match, offering special rewards to any brave underclassmen squad. But the second years immediately forfeit in panic, refusing to risk their lives against that monster. This leaves the final decision to our boy squad, who must now face the ultimate test. Xiaoyan reassures her teammate, telling her not to worry about the upcoming madness, while a spectator records the scene, shocked that a first-year squad is actually stepping up, prompting the entire crowd to gossip about whether these rookies have a literal death wish. Suddenly, a loud voice echoes across the stadium, screaming out our boy's nickname, as Xiaoyan waves enthusiastically, calling for her favorite healer to get his butt on the field, leaving the surrounding students completely dumbfounded by this bizarre and highly unexpected connection, with rumors spreading like wildfire about how the school's top-tier girls personally brought him there. Our boy can only sweat in embarrassment, silently complaining about his sister's friend's wild temper, but before he can even process the public call-out, a sudden shadow looms over him, and his hyped-up teammates eagerly charge forward, completely ready to face the school's absolute monsters. Xiaoyan is completely hyped up and ready to roll, rallying her squad for the ultimate showdown, and with both teams lined up, the highly anticipated challenge match officially gets underway. But before any magic can fly, the arrogant swordsman finds himself targeted by some serious verbal shade, as our silver-haired healer casually exposes how the bully almost ruined his own team last year, mockingly calling his toxic playstyle an absolute blessing to everyone forced to carry him. This public humiliation pushes the hothead over the edge, prompting him to scream in absolute fury, only for our smug healer to act completely clueless, asking if his rival does fortune-telling too, before delivering a legendary roast about cutting keys to see if the guy even matches up, leaving the humiliated swordsman screaming his name in a desperate, vein-popping rage, until the referee fiercely blows her whistle, ordering both sides to back off or face instant disqualification. Xiaoyan nervously asks if provoking the psycho was really a smart move before the fight, but Zhang Xiao calmly points out that their unhinged rival was never going to show mercy anyway. Meanwhile, Gao Junwei commands his own teammates to stay back and let him handle the rookies, swearing to personally deliver a brutal and unforgettable lesson to the insolent underclassmen. His teammates happily agree to bench themselves, leaving the arrogant swordsman to fight alone, though he still pauses to mock Zhang Xiao's sister for failing to control her brother's mouth. Suddenly, the referee steps in to announce a major twist. Absolutely no weapons are allowed today, forcing the lightning-clad swordsman to charge forward with nothing but his bare fists, instantly leaping high into the air to ambush the completely defenseless rookies below him, before unleashing his gold-grade terrifying roar to summon a massive spectral beast onto the field. This team watches in absolute shock as the arrogant swordsman unleashes his terrifying golden aura. Turns out their unhinged rival boasts a total of 6 incredibly powerful star skills, ranging from basic brass-grade endurance buffs to highly explosive silver-grade fire magic in his arsenal, not to mention his devastating gold-grade charge and that nightmare-inducing spectral roar. Our shield tank warns that the crowd control roar is going to be incredibly tough to handle, but our favorite healer casually disagrees, claiming that specific skill is actually their easiest matchup. revealing that his mutated silver grade blessing has a secret side effect of completely clearing negative emotions. Instantly, a massive pillar of green light washes over his teammates, completely shattering the mental illusion, leaving the arrogant swordsman screaming in absolute disbelief as his ultimate move is casually neutralized. And before the bully can even process the fail, our vanguard charges straight through the dust. Our vanguard lunges forward with a fierce strike, catching their arrogant opponent completely off guard. But Gao Junwei quickly crosses his arms to block, channeling his lightning to absorb the impact, triggering a spectacular collision of elemental forces that sends shockwaves ripping across the entire arena. This sheer force of the blast kicks up a massive cloud of dust, blinding the spectators, who scream in absolute disbelief as they realize the bully's ultimate crowd control skill was neutralized, leaving the crowd desperately gossiping about how a basic healing spell could possibly pull this off. As the dust begins to settle, our vanguard lands gracefully on the cracked concrete floor, while the furious swordsman stands his ground, his body still crackling with dangerous golden lightning. But before he can counterattack, another teammate suddenly blurs past his blind spot at high speed, unleashing a devastating, energy-infused fist aimed directly at the arrogant bully's smug face. Gao Junwei sneers at the incoming attack, comparing the rookie's desperate strike to a helpless insect, and immediately unleashes his terrifying roar a second time to paralyze his opponent with fear, confident that even a split-second distraction is all he needs to secure an easy elimination. But our favorite healer merely smiles, knowing the arrogant bully fell right into their trap, prompting a sudden desperate warning for the distracted swordsman to look behind him, as a massive swirling vortex of explosive fire suddenly erupts directly on top of him, triggering a spectacular blast that completely consumes the arrogant bully in a pillar of flames. Up in the stands, the shocked spectators gasp in absolute disbelief at the sudden turnaround, while the instructors watch with intense curiosity, eager to see how this wild battle concludes, leaving a battered, shirtless Gao Junwei to emerge from the smoke facing a massive purple barrier. Standing shirtless and battered, the arrogant bully activates his silver-grade Scorching Flame skill to recover, which wraps his body in heat radiation while granting him total immunity to fire-type damage, prompting a spectator in the stands to desperately hold back a sudden burst of laughter, before loudly mocking the psycho for using high-tier magic just to cover his naked butt. Meanwhile, our boy sister smiles proudly, realizing her brother's squad is playing this incredibly smart. As the instructors realize the rookies are deliberately forcing their opponent into a battle of attrition, knowing his massive ego will force him to waste energy maintaining that useless flame armor, especially since the rules strictly forbid him from stealing any star pearls to replenish his power. At that exact moment, our favorite rookies casually pull out their own glowing star pearls, instantly crushing the golden spheres to unleash a massive wave of fresh energy across the field. Our rookies plan to stall the unhinged bully, aiming to completely drain his remaining star power, but Gao Junwei merely sneers at their strategy, calling their little attrition plan incredibly naive, knowing that while his high-tier skills consume massive energy, healing magic drains just as fast. He lunges forward with terrifying speed, determined to end this fight before they can recover, crushing another golden star pearl to unleash a sudden overwhelming burst of raw elemental power. Watching the incoming disaster, the shield tank screams out in panic for his vulnerable teammate, who barely manages to shove his ally out of the way of the devastating strike, triggering a massive fiery explosion that completely engulfs the arena floor in blinding smoke. The sheer brutality prompts a terrified spectator to scream that the psychopath is going to kill someone, as a hand desperately reaches out to stop the madness before another tragedy unfolds. Zhang Xiao's sister remains completely confident, knowing her brilliant brother always has a master plan up his sleeve. Meanwhile, the giant stadium screens display the benched opponents as a massive explosion rocks the arena floor, leaving Xiaoyan absolutely terrified that the devastating blast might have fatally injured their vanguard and shield tank. But her panic instantly turns into pure confusion as a strange melodic sound echoes through the smoke. Suddenly, vibrant waves of green healing energy swirl across the battlefield, accompanied by a mysterious ringing bell, instantly revitalizing the two fallen rookies as the soothing magic washes away their severe burns and injuries. Up in the VIP stands, a decorated instructor nearly jumps out of his seat in absolute disbelief, recognizing the legendary bell skill but noting its massive, supposedly unavoidable drawback of healing everyone in range. Yet the unhinged bully watches in horror as the wild green light actively bends completely around him, proving that our genius healer possesses such insane control that he can literally deny his enemies any recovery. This shocked instructor realizes there is only one logical explanation for this level of precision. Zhang Xiao doesn't just possess the legendary bell skill, but its perfect matching imprint as well, allowing him to target his healing with absolute pinpoint accuracy while completely bypassing his enemies. Up in the stands, the head instructor furiously demands to know how their intel was so wrong, while his colleague nervously wonders if the school director completely miscalculated our boy's true potential. She quickly dismisses the thought, knowing their director is far too meticulous to make such a mistake. Meanwhile, the arrogant bully realizes his entire attrition strategy has just been completely blown to pieces, leaving him grinding his teeth in absolute frustration as his easy victory slips away. Swallowing his massive pride, the desperate swordsman finally yells for his benched teammates to bail him out, prompting his teammate to deliver a savage roast about his sudden change of heart regarding that MVP title. Gao Junwei desperately yells at his team to put aside their drama and help him win, but his angry teammate immediately snaps at Han Jiangshu, accusing her of slacking to protect her brother, only to get fiercely roasted by her own ally for trying to hog the glory earlier, leaving the gossiping spectators to realize the arrogant bully was just trying to manipulate everyone. This crowd loudly calls him shameless for trying to drag down his own top-tier teammates, pushing the humiliated swordsman to stand there in absolute silence as his reputation completely crumbles. And before he can even process the public backlash, a sudden voice calls out from behind, revealing our smug healer wearing a massive grin that promises nothing but absolute chaos. As Zhang Xiao charges forward at blinding speed to deliver one final satisfying lesson, instantly blurring right into the defenseless bully's face to finish this embarrassing match once and for all. Gao Junwei grits his teeth in sheer panic as our boy closes the distance instantly, leaving the arrogant bully completely bewildered by the healer's insane high-speed movement, before Zhang Xiao unleashes a devastating high-flying kick right into his opponent's face, sending the shirtless bully soaring across the arena like a broken ragdoll, only for our genius healer to land flawlessly, revealing his newly upgraded silver-grade combat skill, prompting a spectator in the stands to completely lose her mind over his handsome combat style, while the rest of the opposing team finally steps onto the field to back up their boss, plotting to exploit our boy's supposed exhaustion while he is still recovering his energy, and eagerly whispering to each other about ending this match with a brutal, permanent finish. But our smug healer merely grins back, welcoming their desperate onslaught with absolute confidence. This arrogant bully desperately braces for impact as the devastating force of the kick connects, sending him crashing face-first into the concrete floor in a spectacular dusty heap, leaving the terrified referee to stutter out that the school's top psycho is officially done, prompting his own teammate to raise her hand and formally declare their complete surrender. Instantly, the referee waves her red flag to announce the rookies as the new school champions, while our victorious squad celebrates their massive upset with some well-deserved high fives. At that exact moment, a glowing system notification rewards Zhang Xiao with 3 precious skill points, which he happily pockets while standing proudly on the podium to receive his championship medal, as the smiling instructor commends the rookies for claiming the ultimate glory they rightfully earned, before presenting them with a rare glowing star pearl to solidify their legendary victory. After their hard-fought victory, Zhang Xiao and his teammates gather around to inspect their hard-earned rewards, as our boy pulls out a stunning glowing purple orb that radiates pure elemental energy, revealing it to be a rare silver-grade long-tailed scorpion star pearl packed with defensive skills, leaving Zhang Xiao to wonder if this powerful defensive barrier is exactly what his team needs. But before he can decide, his curious teammates crowd around to stare at the glowing treasure, which sends their cute companion into a shaking panic when she realizes he is actually gifting it to her, since our generous healer casually reminds her of their deal to hand over all his match rewards, only for her to frantically object, screaming that this desert treasure is far too valuable to waste, prompting Zhang Xiao to stuff his face with food while telling her to stop overthinking his gifts, jokingly threatening to boil the priceless pearl in their hot pot if she does not accept it immediately. Cheyenne explains that while silver-grade skills are normal for him, they are life-changing for ordinary families. But Zhang Xiao casually shrugs it off, insisting that keeping his promise to his teammates is what matters most, prompting the guys to chime in, telling their cute companion that rejecting his gift would be insulting, leaving the overwhelmed girl clutching her book in pure panic over the sheer value of the treasure. She finally accepts the priceless pearl with a bright smile, promising to return the favor in the future. Their celebratory dinner quickly turns into a playful roast as they tease her about doubling her training regime, before she suddenly realizes Zhang Xiao's moving up to the third-year class tomorrow, making schedules clash, which prompts her to quickly set up a phone tripod to capture a proper family photo, and the tight-knit squad flashes bright smiles, shouting eggplant as the camera captures their legendary bond. This next morning, our favorite healer walks down the quiet school hallway, ready for his next big challenge. Zhang Xiao checks his phone, only to find his victory selfie has been shared by a mysterious account, and suddenly a flood of notifications starts blowing up his screen with likes and comments, leaving our genius healer completely bewildered by his sudden overnight rise to internet fame. Before he can even process the viral buzz, a cheerful voice suddenly calls out his name, revealing a bubbly, orange-haired girl who enthusiastically welcomes him to his brand-new third-year classroom. Introducing herself as Suru, the popular campus blogger who recorded his legendary match in high definition, which explains how our boy became an overnight sensation, though he can only offer an awkward wave. She eagerly pulls him inside, proudly offering him the best seat in the entire room, explaining that defeating the school's biggest bullies has officially made him a legendary celebrity, especially since those humiliated brothers were forced to pack their bags and transfer schools in shame. As Zhang Xiao steps into his new classroom, the students gossiping about the disgraced bullies instantly notice him, but before he can even settle in, a familiar voice calls out to greet the lively crowd, revealing Xia Yan and Han Jiangshui, who have apparently decided to tag along for his first day, leaving his sister to watch silently as their energetic teammate immediately targets our favorite healer. Xiaoyan playfully locks him in a chokehold, teasing him for trying to sneak off without them, leaving our poor boy struggling to breathe while she suddenly spots someone walking through the door. This new homeroom teacher enters, holding a folder and announcing the arrival of a legendary transfer student. This sharp-eyed instructor adjusts his glasses, casting an intense gaze directly toward the back of the room, prompting Zhang Xiao to sweat nervously, wondering why this intimidating man is staring so intensely at him, before the mysterious teacher slowly raises his hand to introduce himself to the quiet class. This new teacher introduces himself as Hai Tian Qing, the practical class instructor for their elite third-year class. He welcomes our boy to the class with a surprisingly polite but incredibly sharp greeting, hoping that the upcoming advanced training won't leave their star rookie feeling too bored. This loaded comment immediately puts Zhang Xiao on edge, making him wonder if he's already being targeted. But his bubbly classmate quickly explains that their young instructor is actually a legendary alumnus, leaving our genius healer to marvel at how incredibly young this mysterious elite teacher looks. Turning to the whiteboard, the instructor reminds everyone that raw power won't save them from academic classes, revealing a massive, terrifying list of mandatory science and humanities subjects they must all master, which instantly crushes Jiang Xiao's soul as he faceplants onto his desk in absolute academic despair, though his misery is cut short by the sudden mention of another highly critical exam. This instructor reveals the upcoming challenge is none other than the legendary STAR exam, which their young teacher explains is split into 3 incredibly brutal sections, starting with a massive theory test covering dimensional beasts from snowy peaks to barren deserts, requiring them to memorize every single creature lurking in the deepest oceans, along with a complex breakdown of star power stages and special skill effects. Next up is a grueling physical assessment to test their raw stamina and power, utilizing advanced holographic scans to measure every single fiber of their awakened bodies. But the most critical portion of the exam is the high-stakes team assessment. With the terrifying syllabus finally laid out, the instructor casually dismisses the class, only to immediately order our favorite rookie squad to follow him for some private business. Xiaoyan happily agrees to follow, eager to see what their mysterious new instructor has in store, as the young teacher leads their elite rookie squad down the quiet school hallway, prompting Han Jiangshui to worry if her brother can handle the brutal academic workload. But Zhang Xiao confidently laughs it off, hiding his internal panic about failing every single subject. Once they arrive at the private training room, Xiaoyan impatiently demands to know the big secret, before their sharp instructor clears his throat to drop a massive high-stakes announcement. He reveals that the entire third-year class is heading to a dangerous snowfield trial in 7 days, which immediately prompts Han Jiangshui to ask about their specific objectives and survival goals, only for the teacher to demand they hunt 30 white ghouls while navigating deep into frozen territory, a terrifying survival mission that leaves our favorite healer sweating as the real test officially begins. This instructor explains that while they have full control over their route, one rule remains absolute. He will solely act as an observer, refusing to interfere unless their lives are in immediate danger, which means the elite rookies must meet his incredibly strict preparation standards before they set out. Specifically targeting Zhang Xiao, the teacher demands that our favorite healer fully integrate with his team, starting with memorizing every single teammate's star skill effects, ranges, and energy consumption rates, followed by mastering Han Jiangshui's tactical commands alongside every emergency contingency plan they might need. Hearing this, our smug healer instantly celebrates, realizing this training lets him skip boring academic classes. But the young instructor quickly dampens his excitement by revealing a massive catch to this special exemption, leaving our starry-eyed boy to eagerly anticipate a week of pure freedom from his textbooks, only to freeze in absolute horror upon learning he must still complete every single homework assignment.